How's it going? I'm going to join a stream, and I guess it's Zinga Harris and company. They are talking about dating and relationships. Let's jump in their stream real quick and join that. I had to go through
whatever we can find. And you are the baby that has too much and needs to share, even if you actually have nothing. And that's Women and Politics. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to check out short form World's Best.
Okay, so give us a quick breakdown of what that meant, Scotty.
Well, if it wasn't clear from the video, I mean, basically what he's pointing out is that women in the West have the feminist ethos, the liberal ethos, basically has this contention that we need to care for the rest of the world like they're babies. And in the absence of actually being parents themselves, especially, you have all these women who have essentially adopted minorities or pet causes in the same way that some people adopt chihuahuas or pit bulls.
It's so true. Like, I look at that spoon and I'm like, I know it's useless, but I want the spoon to scoop the stuff to put in my bath or whatever.
Why is that appealing to you as a woman?
I think it's because it's like proprietary. It's like special and it's tiny and cute.
And useless?
It's not useless because it's specific to scooping the chamomile stuff. So it's not useless.
But okay, so so you're proving his point. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that he's right, and I thought the little spoon was cute. And especially if you're at a store and you see that and you're like, oh, I would like some stuff to go in my bath to make me smell better or relax or whatever. And then it's got this little cute proprietary spoon attached to the side of it and like a bow or something. Child, that's going home with me.
Yeah, and that's why you have Bangladeshi and Pakistani rape gangs in England, is because all these women see them as being like a cute little like curry spoon.
I guess. All right, we have a guest. We have a special guest. Let's bring him up. We have a special guest, Marte Reyes.
Oh.
I don't have the... Let's see if Marte's ready to chit chat. Just come in whenever you're ready, Marte. Okay, Scotty, hold on. Excuse me. I've been sick. Forgive me. Okay, give us a little bit of a breakdown or like a introduction into the video we're going to play next of how you ended up on screen, because I was the one on this panel for like 2 hours and then Scott ends up on screen. It was kind of my fault, but it was on purpose. And then this debate ensues. It wasn't super dramatic, but the things that you said were really good. And I wanted to play it today before we didn't have time, tomorrow and all that stuff. So give us a little introduction on the debate we're about to watch.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward. I was just kind of half listening in the corner and reading a book, and I was commenting periodically in the comments section. And Anonymous Based asked the question of the panel, aside from physical attraction, if physical attraction is not a factor, what makes men sort of irresistible? And so everybody had their kind of pet theories, money, charisma, riz, aura, things like that. And I said power, and I typed power. And I guess that caught his attention. So they pulled me into it. And this led to a much longer discussion about, Force Doctrine by Andrew Wilson. We were discussing things like, the battle of the
The fuck? Okay, I got to figure out how to work this video thing on their end. Let me go ahead and try to figure this out because I've never used Streamlabs before. This is new to me. Let me go ahead and see if I can link this up one more time because I don't know what's going on.
Man, he goes skinny. And I'm like, Mark, stop, Mark.
Yeah, Marte
He's
done
gonna
broke
watch,
it, right?
and he has other people.
Oh, shoot, we got Marte. Hey, Marte, how you doing?
Hey, I never use Streamlabs. I think it's I'm usually on StreamYard, so I had to figure out how to like enable camera and do all this other stuff. I'm like, oh, you guys are using Streamlabs, I guess.
While we deal with these audio issues.
I can hear him, but you can't, so now I got to fix it. And I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I'm always in the yard, and you guys are in the lab, so two different modes of operation here, I guess.
That's okay. We're gonna share.
Let me see. Let me see if I can. My mic and
Hold on
all
one
that
second.
stuff's working. You know what? It works on this end. Let me check my end as well too.
Doing cute couple things.
Yeah, I know we're doing a lot here. You guys aren't on StreamYard or what? Did you guys want to try something different, like the Stream Lab? I guess.
Yeah, well, this is Streamlabs. I already had like a subscription. So I was just like, I'm going to use Talk Studios because he was on live with Grid One. And Grid One uses
yeah,
Talk
that's
Studios.
true. I didn't see the video though. It's not like I wasn't trying to watch. I just had so much going on. By the way, what's up to the patriarchy over there? I just want to give a shout out over to Scott. How's it going, man? I ask about you. I inquire about you behind your back. Just letting you know. So it's all Zynga. Let him know, man.
Hey.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you, man, and thanks for participating. This might make this a little more fun for us because we were just going to kind of have like a kickback stream talking about this, but having another pair of eyes on this, another opinion would be fun.
Well, especially if it's an orthodox-based set of eyes, somebody who does go on panels a lot and has a lot of input to offer. Oh, I see you have Mark here. Of course, I'm gonna this guy shows up. It's so good. All right.
Yeah, if you want to
definitely,
if you want to chime in, if you want to chime in at any point in this discussion, just kind of say pause, and we'll hit the button.
Mark,
and we'll let you.
There's going to be too much content and too much commentary already. But anyways, we can proceed. Yeah, for sure.
All right, just hit it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there we go. Kowtowing to him and running around to meet his every demand. The woman's going to become intrigued because there's something about him that indicates that he's going to be able to meet those needs.
Oh, we need to tell Marte
So
what's
that's
led
why
up to this.
Yeah. Do you have context? I know you were in the waiting room there for a minute, but do you know what's happening here?
No, I don't know what's going on. Maybe you guys can fill in the gaps of context for me and let me know.
Yeah. No, basically, I had no intention of streaming at all. I was just kind of like letting Z do her thing. And then I was in the comment section. And so they kind of asked me to come up and explain my answer. And the question was, what makes women attractive if you remove physical attraction, right? What makes men instantly attractive to women barring the physical.
Mhm.
And so my first, I just one word answer, because me, I'm pithy. I just said power. And they were all intrigued by that. And so now I'm basically explaining myself.
And a nice good argument ensues.
Yeah.
I would throw one thing there, and I know I'm not currently in this discussion. I'm kind of like third party watching here, but I will say this though. I think the thing that changes everything is your mode of tolerance. Your threshold for tolerance changes a whole lot. If you have somebody that's unattractive, let's say they lie and do some nefarious things in a relationship, that's the last straw for a fat girl that's out of shape and has a big mole on her nose. His tolerance level may be like, finite, right? But let's say this woman is extremely attractive, blue-eyed, blonde hair. Oh God, my knees are getting weak saying this. But anyways, back to this. This woman is fine as hell. She could lie 50 times. The tolerance threshold is greater.
Tolerate a lot more. Yeah.
So, but if you take away like the looks in the physical attraction, your tolerance becomes more finite when it comes to that. I'll just say that. So that's something that we don't realize. You'll hear things from men talking about things like, I don't know why he stayed with her so long. Well, look at her. She's of course, fake breasts and whatever else. That's why. But if you think about this, men are really material. And when we talk about people that are of the world and in the world, when you come to this, it's like you realize that these men are just putting up with more and they're tolerating more BS, lowering their standards because they're taking in too much of the visual. And that's what happens. The tolerance level and the threshold adjust accordingly to where their standards are, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean the question here too is a little bit more like talking about like initial attraction, but it's funny you mentioned that because the long-term effect, like what people will tolerate, definitely comes up. I think Carmen brings that up. So let's play a little bit more of this here. Power, because even if a man doesn't necessarily have any real power, if he demonstrates that he has the capacity to get it, to get something, to get resources, to defend, to protect, to steal. I mean, it really depends on the woman's point of view, how moral this guy needs to be. All they really need to do biologically is demonstrate that they have the power over others, that they have the power to get resources, the power to take, the power to steal, the power to, like Conan the Barbarian, destroy their enemies.
But that sounds very like a pessimistic way of portraying. Like what you're saying is that, I mean, maybe you're right. Okay, inherently, that word. Maybe you're right, but at the same time, I was going to say inherently, women might be attracted to that power dynamic, and we haven't denied that throughout this podcast at all whatsoever. But at the same time, moving into the newer generation, the new era, we are seeing like that power dynamic and that power structure is being, I would say, like fragmented a little bit. So how would you deal with this fragmentation of the power structure that's occurring in the new era? Like, because the male dominance is losing its what it used to stand for.
Can we pause there real quick?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, it doesn't matter. That's the thing.
It's funny because it's funny because automatically it goes to fragmentation, pessimistic. Power isn't it like it's always got to be bad whenever people got it. So it's like with him thinking about this, it's like I'm beginning to wonder if some of his friends are men. Like in real life, if you think about this, you become the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. So a lot of women, I don't know, in Worcester or wherever he is in the UK, it's like, bro, you got to get some base patriarchal men who actually put a good stigma on patriarchy. And according to like what Mr. Harris is talking about, what Scott's talking about is power. I think this is like fundamentally something that's a foundation to a relationship. If you didn't have any modicum of power, 500 years ago, you didn't survive a harsh winter. 500 years ago, your village got raided and your lineage was destroyed. If you didn't have power, do you think that would happen? If we had an EMP hit America today, you don't think we would be set back in the Stone Age and still need men with power? That's the thing, though, is I think that he looks at this as like, oh, it's got to be negative. We always dive into the fractionization of like relationships and how things are disintegrating to a lower standard of like what people want. It's like he just went there, and I'm like, it just beckons to like wonder like who are the people that are supporting these ideals that he has in upbringing, all this other stuff. But this is like the feminist, borderline adjacent feminist ideal to what you're talking about. But what you're talking about is something that's fundamentally seen in nature and humanity and every existence of what women really truly want. You need this, otherwise you wouldn't survive, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's my opinion is primarily just objective reality. Like I don't really have a personal stake in this conversation, so everything I'm saying is just kind of like observably true. And you'll see with my response to this that he's making the claim that he thinks like Gen Z, for instance, is getting more fragmented, more feminist, and that they're going to have less of these qualities. But I actually refute that. I actually go right into it. Whether feminism, you're going to have to bring the audio back.
What did I do?
Completely takes absolute total control of a society or not. It doesn't change.
We'll pause it.
Yeah. So we're going to need to go back and fix the audio issues.
Oh. Okay.
There we go. Women.
Sorry.
It doesn't change the takes absolute total control of a society or not. It doesn't
Go back.
Feminism, well, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. Women, whether feminism. I don't think this is right.
The male dominance is losing its what it used to stand for.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. Women, whether feminism completely takes absolute total control of society or not, doesn't change women. It doesn't change them one iota. If anything, it just makes them more rabid and more eager to have the old ways to assert themselves. If anything, feminism.
Wait, pause it. This is so funny to me, Marte, because you know Anonymous, right? Anonymous was just eating this up. It was so good to him. He was like, "Yeah, get him, Scott." And then like Coley's like, "Yeah," and then Mark and Carmen are like fidgeting, like, wait a minute, I don't know about this.
This makes me uncomfortable.
Just watching their body language is so funny. Because you know these people, you've been on the panel before.
It's funny because you can definitely see the so what you're doing, Scott, is you're creating this polarizing effect of you talking about objective reality. What Mark's doing is creating the Chicken Little effect. The sky is falling, this and that. What are we going to do? And then you start noticing Carmen and Coley as the fence sitters. I don't know what's going to happen. Let me stay tuned to see what's going to happen. Like they're not on one side or the other, and that's what's happening right now. But here's my take on this. The reason why I'll agree with Scott, Zinga, you know I'm not going to agree with anybody on just I've disagreed with Anonymous base and try to wreck him on certain points when it comes to like courage and bravery and all this. And it's like all that before. But going back to this, I'll have to side with Scott and agree with him on this because I think we're talking about a pendulum shift. If the pendulum shifts all the way to feminist society, let's say all these men become like, I would say, strong version of the new women would definitely demand for real men back into the equation. I don't care how blue hair you are. I don't care how whatever. Buildings still need to be built. The infrastructure needs to still be built. Sewage, electric, nuclear still needs to be maintained. And women would actually be the people that would argue for their undemise, because right now they're arguing for their demise. They would actually be arguing for the pendulum to swing the other way because they'd be missing that. So Scott, nailing the head again as usual. Yeah.
And you know how you can tell you're right is that feminist women they'll beat down men they work with, their brothers, their dads, their cousins, their friends. And then they'll also complain with other women, like, where are the real men at? It's like, well, all the men in your life, you're castrating. So how can you complain about it?
Yeah, it's funny. When we're in a third world country, you'll start noticing gender roles magically appear when they never appeared before. The bullnose ring would suddenly disappear. Like there are certain traits and behaviors that would totally vanquish from our society. As soon as like, Scott, you know what an EMP is, right? Like the Matrix. Yeah. If we get hit by EMP, how far would refrigeration would be out the window? So we'd have to hunt again. Like most of these feminists don't wonder how their food appears magically in grocery stores. It either has to be maintained, slaughtered by butchers, by men, by the way, or livestock, or even hunted. They just figure, I just go to the store and it magically appears, which is crazy. But once all this fails because of the EMP and there's no electricity, the food that you have in your fridge that's perishable becomes biohazard in no time. And then we're down to canned food. Well, hunting is like adjacent right after that. So I'm just thinking that a great reset might need to happen to eliminate feminism, but I think that that's a pipe dream, and here we are. But Scott, based as usual, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the Dagestanis and like the Mongol like falconeers and then like a few dudes in West Montana will basically be having like they'll have the run of the earth because the rest of us will kill ourselves within 72 hours of total incompetence.
Yeah, I think less normative society would actually have an upper gaining field because, like, if you think about this, like I always reference Black culture, the people that shoot guns like this aren't going to be foraging as good as the people that shoot guns like this. Like, let's think about this. You're going to miss. You're wasting ammo. You're never going to hit your kill. And you're just going to starve to death, bro. We don't do boys in the hood out here. We actually hunt and try to forage and bring home the kill, which the people from Montana, even Mississippi people, the inbred people, whatever you want to call this, the people that aren't Muslim but like sleeping with their first cousins, they'll have an advantage because they're in the backyard hunting anyways. This is what they do. So that's normative compared to what we have in society.
I had a friend. He was like a sort of like a special forces contractor trainer type. He was a real avid outdoorsman and a hunter. And he was kind of half joking, but he's like, if the whole world goes to ish, he's like, it's gonna be those dudes with the swamp craft that are gonna succeed. Like those guys who've just been living out on the bayou, like dumping their poop in the river out of a bucket. He's like, those guys who are the most equipped to handle that world.
Yeah, they don't need cars. They don't need all these modern advancements that we have. Like they can manufacture their own ammo, things like this. And people know how to do this and mill their own goods. Like those people have an edge. Those people would be revered in the barter and trade game for sure. Yeah. There's
this funny, I wish I had an exact quote for you so you could look them up, but there was this famous story out of the Soviet Union where like there's this family like way out in the Siberian wilderness, just living out there in, bear country, doing their thing for like multiple generations. I think it was like something like 20 to 40 years. They weren't even aware that World War II happened. They weren't aware of all like the Soviet gulag. Like they had no idea any of it happened. And then like some journalists and some randos with a camera showed up and they're like, hey, like, did you realize all these things happened over the last 40 years? And they were just looking at them. They're like, we got chores to do. We don't care.
A very funny thing happened. Zynga and Scott, I don't know if you remember this happening when the whites came up with their own village and they're going to say, we're just going to have whites in this town only. Remember when that happened?
Yeah, I do.
So there was a black rendition of this where a black person bought all this land because I don't know if it was like a charity or a pooling fund that they had. Well, these blacks had donated all this and they had named the land and all this. Not a damn thing was built the whole time. I think they've desolated the area. Nothing was built. But if you look at the white settlement that they've had, they actually have their own ordinance. They have their own law. Like it's like really based. So if you think about this, it's like, and I know I keep diverting to race sometimes, but it's so true. That's reality. If we see this, that's an example that we can see that we can pull from when it's like, I'm not going to be boys in the hood when the EMP hits. I'm going to be with these rednecks and hanging out with them because I have a higher likelihood of survival, to be honest. And I mean, I shoot and hunt myself previously in the past, but those people are more in alignment with my values than these inner city people that watch TV, chase Shaniqua, have the first baby daddy and all. Like, it's just crazy, man. But yeah, I'm staying alive, and that's where I'm going with the people who are from the Caucasus Mountains. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Follow the guy with the.
I'm never gonna lie to you guys. I'm always gonna be honest with you. That's just it. Yeah.
If things really go wrong, look for the guy with the Carhartt, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get some more of this. I will explain that when I make this point.
It's money.
Yeah, hold on. One mic.
Feminism is basically just one giant shit test. And the men who fail it get destroyed. That's why liberalism has been dominant.
Look at Anonymous.
Men. But what's happening right now is I don't think women taking over. I think quite the opposite is happening. You're seeing more conservative men, more church attendance from men, more leadership from men. The younger generation does not share the foibles or the hang-ups of their ancestors, and they're very public about it. That's why everybody's over their skis about this Nick Fuentes kid. Even if that kid doesn't necessarily represent your point of view, he is representing the tip of a cultural sphere, which is not afraid of its ancestors. It's not afraid to call out boomerism. It's not afraid to call out the liberal hegemony that Western society has going on right now. So, Mark, what you're actually seeing, in my opinion, and I think facts back this up, is that you're going to see a lot more masculine men, a lot more conservative men, a lot more aggressive men coming out, as opposed to sort of this soft millennial thing that my generation cultivated, where it was very much about like, hey, can I touch you there? And, you know, do you want to sign a consent form? Like, that came out of our generation. That didn't come out of Gen Z. Gen Z looks at that stuff and they go, ugh.
Well, I don't know what generation, but I know what you're saying. I think the younger, more liberal mindset men in today's society are opening up Pandora's box, or they opened up Pandora's box, and I understand what you're saying. I think that right-wing and more conservative men are going to rise up from the ground upwards in retaliation to what we're seeing happening in today's modern era. But, you know, it's just the balancing act. It's the balancing act. And, you know, that's why these conversations are so important. And that's why I've enjoyed being here today, because I know that we all have...
Why does he always do that? Like that unnecessary, like he's throwing us a bone. Every conversation he has, like, I'm just so happy that there's multiple points of view. It's like, shut up, dude. Just have the conversation. You don't need to preface it with like a thank you for speaking and having different opinions. Like, just have an opinion and talk.
Yeah, Mark gets really pissed, and Zinga has seen this when I confront him about this, about being a chameleon when it comes to this. Like, he'll listen to the discussion, and then there's like a turn that happens, like right in the middle of the turn. It's like, oh, of course the detractor has to come out, because on its face he's like welcoming and all this, and then you'll notice that in the middle of the conversation, the detractor comes out and says, "Yeah, I'd hate to be the pessimistic with my spot of tea here," and it's like, bro, we knew this was coming, bro, because this is how you do. Like, there's no disguising this what you do, and it's like almost like he's feminism adjacent. Mark, if you're watching this on my end, I'm not calling you a feminist. I'm just saying that you have the ability to hop from feminist to like, oh, you're one of us in 2 heartbeats. That's why I call you a chameleon sometimes. That's not a denigrating thing I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's objectively what I see every time I'm on the panel with you.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. He's always like, you know, thank you for having a good, like a different point of view. It's like, you don't have to thank. It's all good, man.
And that's because he's sweeping up the feminism under the rug, because he's like, oh, I made you feel bad with my feminism. Oh, you know what? I appreciate you. Let me come over to the masculine side again. That's really what that is, I think. He's bartering and trading niceties to try to appear more masculine to us. That doesn't work. Just going to say.
No.
Well, Marte, you would have had a conniption, because when I came on, yes, I'll tell you what. You remember one of the last? I think it was the last time you and I both were on at the same time on Anonymous's podcast. He had me. I think it was me and Carmen rate his masculinity on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh my God,
and you and Anonymous were like, "Dear God, why are you doing this?" And he wanted me to do it again. And I was like, "You want me to do this again?" And I could see Anonymous's face was just like,
he must be a sadist.
What do you do?
What a glutton for punishment.
I didn't do it. I was like, I'm not going to do it, dude. I'm not going to do it.
Hold on. You spared him reality? Did we do this to Mark? No, don't spare Mark reality. The only way to bring him back to reality is to not hide him and shelter him from reality. This is not what you do to men. Tell him that he's
he lost -5,
2 points, like you were going to say. Just tell him -5 and just have a nice day. That's it.
Well, he lost 2 points. So I think I gave him a 3. He lost 2 points because there was something that happened, and he said, sorry. And I was like, you just lost a point for saying sorry.
Oh, you were being charitable.
There was no apology needed.
Oh, you were being charitable. Zinga out here with the charity. Hey, you know what? I guess you were having a nice day that day. It's okay. Damn.
It was like he was trying to bully her into giving him 1 point of attractiveness. I'm like, bro, that is creating
masculinity.
Is that what it was?
It was masculinity.
Okay, I thought he was talking about attractiveness, but all right, let's continue this.
And stuff. And I know that we always talk about men and women, but it's so important to hash these things out, you know?
Well,
and I like
one thing that we are in touch with, what brings power? Is it the fact that you're a male, not a female, or is it the fact that you make more money or I make more money? What defines power? Power money.
Power lies in potential. So power lies in potential, right? So you could be a dummy who wouldn't be able to engineer a silicon wafer that's going to make you billions of dollars by becoming the next big CPU. But if you are strong enough to steal it from the nerd who does, and then make him pay you, then the women are going to be attracted to you because you're the one who's capable of taking all the power and resources. If the nerd comes out on top of the scenario, so he's not a nerd anymore, and the women will come up with self-justifications for how he's hot. because he has a yacht.
I
Right?
mean, they're from billionaires.
Well, power in potential, right? Like this is why they were writing this in Time Reviews week 10 years ago. It was like the generation of the nerd or the year of the nerd or something like that. And a lot of that's kind of self-serving because the people who are writing these things are dorks. But it's true in a certain regard, right? Like we live in an information culture where you can make a bunch of money by coming up with an AI app that I don't know figures out how to make dental visits more convenient, and suddenly you have like generational wealth overnight because this thing takes off. Women are going to find you very attractive, even if you look like a complete dork.
So you think that
That's good, though, Anonymous. Anonymous was eating this up. He was like, yeah. Can you let him on?
Speaking of, Sean?
Yeah.
Look who's here.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Shout out to y'all,
Hey.
man.
How's it going, Anonymous?
What's going on, Mr.
You brought your
How you doing?
soundboard? I thought you were only leaving that on your podcast, but I guess you just had to bring everything, including the anonymous kitchen sink. All right. Well, I guess let's have that.
Got to, brother. Got to, man. Hey, how's the new year treating you so far, brother?
Good. It's treating me better than Mark is, according to this video so far, for sure. It's treating me more masculine. We'll just say that.
So Anonymous, it looks like you were in the back room kind of tuned in, but we're basically just recapping the part where you guys dragged me into the discussion, and Marte has been giving us his 2 cents on it. So we're going to play a little bit more if that's all right with you.
Hey, go ahead. Hey, man. Go ahead.
you think that power.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
You think that
I
power
like that, I
is not
like
much. It's not much of money and what you can change. It's more of aggressiveness.
I think aggressiveness is a key component because you have to have the will to impose your will on others. So you don't even necessarily need to be
I find power defined as you have the power to change something in your life, and therefore you have the power.
Mark said, yeah.
Power of influence.
Not exactly influence something in my life, change the way I think, change the way I feel, change the way I live.
This is the
That's how
dumbest
I
answer
believe.
ever.
Really?
So if you ever notice that liberals, I'm guessing she's a liberal or feminist adjacent, they always use very ambiguous language. They'll say, well, something like this, and they're not really getting to anything specific. They're just going to use the most broad, ambiguous language. Oh, power is defined as just a person obtaining control. What? You didn't really say anything. It's like she didn't say anything in what she just said right now. She didn't say how. We didn't say objective in reality to something we could point to or map on to anything else. What she gave us is like a diatribe of like this most ambiguous thing that doesn't mean shit. Like if you're going to say something, Carmen, at least say like specifically an example, hypothetical or something. This is what they do all the time. And I've experienced this in debates where they're going to use very ambiguous language because it's like they don't actually know what they're talking about. They just want you to sound, they just want to sound like, hey, you feel me? Like that's all they want to do is appear as knowing what they're talking about. And really, I would tell her this in her face. Like if we were anyways.
The way I interpreted this is it seemed like she was trying to like take the He-Man toy away from the boy and feminize my thesis a little bit. She was kind of like trying to say like, listen, all this power and destroy talk is ugly. It's giving me the ick. What makes me feel like a man has power is when he can change my mind, when he can change my life. Like,
Yeah, but
it's like kind of woo-woo and very feminine.
But just understand how ambiguous that is on its face when a woman says, if you can change, matter of fact, like when a woman tells me, or like, let's say if I was in a relationship and a woman said, if you can change my mind, then we could be together. What does that mean? Did she really tell you anything? If she says, can you change, if you could change my mind about what? And she doesn't tell you what it is, how you do it, like in what reference. She doesn't give you a reference or anything like that. That's what I'm saying. You're right on what you're talking about, but I think that she keeps diverting to ambiguous language to take the toy away from you. And to me, I feel like that's like dirty, just dirty talk right there. And when I say dirty, I mean like bad faith. I'm just going to say it like that. It's true.
I try to address it. And I try to address her point in this next bit here. So
Not necessarily you make more money or you are aggressive enough.
But all of those things are going to be predicated. All of those things that you just said, would be ideas of power, are going to be predicated on somebody who's capable of achieving the things that I mentioned. So, for instance, the kind of guy who's going to have the confidence and the actual, like, real life solid wisdom to give you life changing advice is going to have to actually be able to change his own life. Right? Like, if it's just some hobo sex that got really high and thinks he's brilliant because he's high, the advice he gives you is going to be crap because his life is crap, right? He doesn't make good choices, so he can't tell you what to make.
That's very fair. That's a very fair comment.
Yeah, so even
Well, but the same argument, you think that you're the damn head of the household, but it's my household. I pay for the mortgage. I pay for you're like making the same argument as Jody. Jody was a baby boy.
Carmen,
it's my house. I pay for it. I got it. It's my car that you drive, but you get to claim yourself because you're a man and you claim yourself. This is my car. This is my castle. Do I need it? And I buy it.
See, that's the thing. You're not dating a man. You're dating a child. You are subsidizing a child's life, and he is pretending to be a man. If he was a man to begin with, none of the things that you just previously mentioned would be true. He'd have what makes him a man is capable.
What makes him a man? Because by the same argument, you said that aggressiveness. Okay, fine. Okay, you can protect me with somebody, but it's still my door that's knocking down. So
how do you know
aggressiveness makes you a man? Then we can make that argument.
No, in this scenario, you're describing someone who's basically a man-child. How do you know that this man-child can actually protect you?
You tell me.
Well,
he's asking you to.
So it's kind of like.
It's funny because sorry, I hate to interrupt, but here's the thing though. It's always a woman to like, this is how you know that you're a simp in a relationship. Oh, my man is a real man because a real man would. If you ever hear a woman say a real man would, she's describing a simp. And whenever you hear things like this, and she's describing like, oh, he would do this. If you do this, then you're fine. Then I'll allow you to lead. This makes her the leader, not you. If you have to pass a series of qualifications and she has to approve of you, and I'm not saying like, you know, as far as like, I'm talking about allowance. That's what I'm talking about. That allowance approve. Like, okay, you fit the criteria. You're the man that I need. When she outwardly says this and tries to explain this, you're not a man. I think men, when they step up, they don't have to be told this and reassured this. They just are. When we show up, we just take shit, we conquer, do whatever. And I know it sounds really rudimentary when I say this. It's like he's just going to show up and your life is going to be easier. But if you have to direct an orchestra when it comes to being a man and explaining what a man is, you're not describing a man. I mean, how am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like, what do you think about this, Anonymous? It just seemed to me like she was arguing with me, just like she was bringing up somebody from the past, like some ex-boyfriends that she really still resents and hasn't dealt with. Because it sounds to me like she's currently married to a guy that makes her pretty happy and takes pretty good care of her. So, like, when she was making this argument, I was kind of like, I felt kind of put it back a little bit because I'm like, this doesn't represent your life. So why are you investing in this argument?
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's like, you'll have some married women that may look the part from the outside, but then when you hear certain married women talk, it tells you what the root of their logic is based in. And it sounds like she has a lot of feminist ideals, but it's being hidden behind, I'm presenting myself to be traditional and married. That's kind of what I get from it.
I think she's cosplaying tradition. And the reason why we say this is because here's the problem with this is that, and I hate to say this is going to be a really uncomfortable truth. I don't think it's the case for the Harrises here, but I think that when you're a man, if you're with a woman and you don't realize that she's a feminist until you sign the prenuptial agreement, even if you do and get married and all that, and then you have the house and everything to lose in a relationship, you're going to stick with her because now all of a sudden you have stake in the game. You have everything to lose when it comes to this. I don't think that like if her, and I don't wish any ill on anybody when I say this, but I think that if we don't do our due diligence and do enough vetting in a relationship, we can oftentimes end up with a feminist that we didn't know was a feminist the whole time. And really, they'll say, well, see, I'm not a feminist because he married me. Well, that is just obfuscation. That doesn't mean that you're not a feminist. It just means that you got in a contractual agreement. That's all it means.
Exactly. It means you did just enough on the application to where they called you back for the second interview.
The other thing too is when women say what they think a man's role should be and what he should do and how he should act and how he should conduct himself. Like it's always really self-serving. Like obviously, like a man shouldn't be aggressive because we don't like aggression because we're a little bit more agreeable. But he should definitely be a protector. And it's like, well, he kind of needs that aggression.
Exactly.
So if you don't have any basis for what you think a man is or why you think a man should be XYZ, then it's just going to be anything that you want. He shouldn't yell at me, but he should be able to beat people up. But he shouldn't lead me, but he should pay all my bills and make sure I can buy my purses and all that stuff. It's like there's no balance.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, is we can't like say I'm only going to cherry pick my man. That doesn't exist. You can't like cherry pick qualities in a man. I'm going to be aggressive with my woman, and when I'm in a relationship, I'm going to be aggressive with her, and it's going to show up because she needs to see this, in my opinion. Because if I don't back down from her when it comes to something that's justified or morally sound, when it comes to like either ethics, theology, or something like that, and I can really back this up and demonstrate it for her, she's going to think, well, he doesn't back down to me. Why would he back down to you? So not only this, but you could provide a demonstration that stays with her in her head, because if she runs over you at the home, all over the place when it comes to like, bills and everything, and then she has to pay because you're too lazy. And like what Scott said, a man child, she's now going to have to be the defender of the house and not you. And then she becomes the leader, and then she starts resenting you in the long run. You don't want that, because now she's going to become your mother. We don't want moms. I don't want a woman and be like, hey, mommy, how are you doing? As I'm putting an actual bottle in my mouth. Women don't want men like that. They want to be the guy with slays dragons, saves the castle from crumbling, all that stuff. They want somebody that's going to dominate them intellectually, physically, and all this. And I don't mean like the whole sexual dynamic trope or whatever, but this man needs to be able to dominate her in so many arenas subtly in his daily life. And it just happens to be a natural occurrence, not something that's forced, not something that's artificial. So that way she can go out in the world with you and say, no, he does this for real. So I know that you can't push back on him, because I get pushed back all the time. This is just true. And this weeds out a lot of feminists in the dating process when you have this. And it should be a natural occurring process, i.e. fathers in the home and all that. So, yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like the baseline thesis of what I'm trying to say to her. And it's just getting revealed to me a little bit, like how bitter she is about bad past relationships with man children, or maybe experiences her friends have had and family. But let me play a little more of this for you guys.
Why do you gotta pull the mask
I can
off
tell
her
you
and just
right.
reveal her like that? That's crazy. Scott over here pulling the mask off. Let her wear the mascara, Scott. Let her wear the makeup a little bit longer. Why you gotta use the anti-makeup cloth on her like that? That's crazy.
Got to keep her natty for church.
Right. Hey, real quick,
Yeah,
before you continue playing it, I don't know if it's just me, but it sounds like the audio when you play the video is doubled up.
Yeah, there's an
Or maybe
echo.
it's just me.
My chat's been saying that. I didn't say anything because I'm like,
Tell us.
It's all right. We'll clean that up for you.
Okay. I thought it was just me.
no, it's not just you, Anonymous. It's
No,
funny, your
that-
name's
Yeah.
anonymous, but you're not
Based on this
anonymous at all. But anyways,
hypothetical,
let's go ahead.
Assuming.
Well,
In this
it's
scenario-
not. He's a man child. He doesn't bring anything to me. He doesn't change my life. He doesn't influence my life in any type, way, shape, or form. He's just here because he's a big, strong man.
Well, then
So
what you
that
have
makes
is-
him
what
automatically
you
a man. He
essentially
don't bring no
have is a
money. He
pet
don't bring
dog.
no influence. He don't bring anything. So
You
that's
have a
just
pet dog. That's like owning a very large pit bull.
so that's what you just said.
No, it's
No, I said I was a dog. He never said he was a dog.
what I
No,
said was
you-
that
it-
what it
it-
said that is women are
My
attracted
impression
primarily.
was that you aggressiveness was
What I said is that women
manhood.
are attracted to power in potentia, meaning men who clearly demonstrate that they have the willpower and the capability to achieve resources and to protect. A man who just postures a lot is just a child wearing his dad's shirt.
Right.
It's not the same thing, and everybody knows it. That's why nobody respects that guy.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if that guy is built like Ving Rhames; he's still a loser, and everybody knows it.
Right.
Now, there's that other guy though that's sitting on the couch who might be a little bit thinner than the Ving Rhames character, but everybody gives him his beer first, right? There's something different about that guy. It's because that guy actually gets results. That's
Right.
the guy who actually has everyone's respect. That's the one who's
For
actually putting
potential.
himself out there.
No.
Power
So
and potential.
potential.
No.
Right.
So
And
the
this is
difference
what women are
between,
attracted
like,
to.
what makes the tipping point is
This
Did
is
you have
going
a
over
point?
her head right now. So what she's missing though is that there's a hierarchy, even when it comes to men. So even with men, like what he talked about, Scott's pretty brilliant. I don't know if he knows this, but sometimes that brilliance kind of shines through. What he's referring to is the hierarchical nature, even amongst men. Let's say there was no women. There's a reason why that guy would get a beer before the other guys, either because his production value is higher, because everybody knows that when shit hits the fan, he's going to be the first one at the door defending everything. Like there's always going to be a hierarchical role no matter what. And she's talking about potential when Scott's talking about demonstration. So they're talking past each other. Well, she's talking past him because she's saying potential when really he's saying no. This is demonstrably true that it's self-evident that every day he repeats this pattern and shows up fair and consistent with masculine standards. She feels safe, protected every single day. And there's not one day that he slacks on this. That's not potential. That's objective reality shown on its face through demonstration in a cycle that repeats every day. When she's saying, even though he says this is like ABCs to like a fourth grader, she's saying this is potential. This is ludicrous, by the way. Just gonna call it out.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I just made some adjustments. Let me know if you still hear an echo.
No echo. You
No,
solved the problem.
it sounds good. It sounds good.
Sorry, I
Whatever
have
you
to
did,
keep getting.
it worked.
Yeah, sorry, I have to keep getting up and down. It was like the first time it was all this yapping gave me a thirst, but then I just heard some weird sound
What?
coming from under
What
my
does that
sink.
mean?
It gave me a thirst, my friend. a
If you
thirst.
were just thirsty,
And,
just say that. Why are you correlating the yapping with thirst? No, I'm just playing. Go ahead, man. I'm just being an asshole. Go
like my wordplay, fine.
ahead. Go ahead.
But,
not money, not influence.
and women have to
It's
see it.
Potential.
Women
Yeah.
have to see it, even if they don't know exactly what it is that they're attracted to. They're attracted to that potential.
Mm.
That's really what that is. And I think that it kind of renders the whole notion of like whether it has to be biological or psychological kind of moot, because both mechanisms have to work together to make this attraction happen in the first place. It has to be biological and it has to be psychological. And ultimately, I think for women, it's really just quite simple. You guys are designed by God to look for men that are going to protect, provide, and be there for you in the long term. And so you're going to look for the maximum male status, the guy who can protect you from other males, but also from the environment, meaning that he's going to have to be able to provide you resources and build things.
I think potential is dead without any action behind it. I can fall in love with the potential of the possibly man that I can love, but if you don't do anything about it, what the hell?
Wait,
Yeah. Because hang on, that's fair.
But
That's
that's not
fair.
what we're talking about. You're talking about
saying that I
attraction.
can fall in love with a man who has potential. There's a lot
Correct.
of men out here who die with the potential to be great, but they don't do anything about it, and they're dying.
Yes, but you leave them when you realize they're losers. So I'm talking
No,
about
but they
attraction.
no,
I'm
but
not
they don't.
talking
Not
about
everyone
sustained
does, do they?
relationships. I'm not talking about sustained relationships. I'm talking about attraction. And here's
Okay,
the other
yeah.
thing, too. For women, it's very simple. Like women, your attraction can be turned to ick just like that. And all it takes is one guy doing one thing seriously wrong in the relationship to basically permanently damage that attraction. We've all experienced this as men. I've done it myself. And so we have to be aware as men that we could have, a 10 out of 10 on the Riz scale, and girls saying we have aura and all this sort of stuff. And then we just say the wrong thing in the wrong tone of voice. And now she has an ick about us, and she may not even be able to articulate why. She's just like, I don't know. I just don't feel right. Like when you were talking to Stacey about that one subject, and I don't know. I don't know if I have plans. I have plans this Friday. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like every guy's kind of been there to one degree or another. So you have to think about it in terms of we're not talking about sustained attraction here. We're talking about initial attraction. There has to be power and potential. There has to be.
I like how Coley was like, definitely been there.
What? Not the fact. So here's the thing about Scott. Scott, I hate you right now. You know why I hate you? It's because I don't disagree with anything that you're saying yet. When I'm like, oh, there has to be something, a chink in your armor. I guess not yet. I guess maybe you're going to have a flawed day one day. I know you catch you off guard with something that we can quarrel about. But no, I guess we're in alignment on this base structure. So I would agree with you on this because here's the thing, though. it does take a snap of the finger for this to happen. We've noticed that there was a UFC fighter. I forgot what her name was. There was like a case, and she was on Joe Rogan. She said, I went out and I just saw him fight one time. And it was like, as soon as I saw his face go like this, the hands go like this, she was like, our sex life was ruined. Our bedroom was dead. And we had a cold bed after that. And I could just never figure out how to just be attracted. It only took that one moment for her to feel like this, and she couldn't retain it. So this is the thing though, Scott, you're hitting at something that's extremely important when it comes to dating and relationships. It's not the fact that you can get this woman's attraction. Retention is extremely important, because remember when I talked about that demonstration, it needs to be a cyclical thing that you can repeat in objective reality. And I think that if you can continuously demonstrate that, all you're doing is staving off unattraction. And that's a man's life. I'd hate to say this, but you're staving off unattraction every single day. It's like a person that's rich. And now that you're rich, you have to retain the rich. You have to stave off being broke every single day. And that is a man's journey. We have to till the earth. Women have to have childbearing years and things like this. We all have our punishments and laden with work and things like this. That is the work and toil of a man, is to retain this attraction. That's through duty and sacrifice. And these are things that would go over Karma's head if you talked about it. It's like duty should be attractive to women first and foremost. And I think the panel would miss this, first of all. Yeah, to me, I think that we need to bring that back. I think we should bring back duty, function of men, and things like that, and make that attractive, not these materialistic things. I'm a bodybuilder, but I can be not a bodybuilder real quick. If I get hit by a car, then what am I? What value do I provide to a woman? So it's like, you're a pro bodybuilder. It means shit. What utility do I provide to this woman? Am I performing some duties? Am I going to work and getting a check, roof over her head, electric, things like that? Just simple, man.
Yeah, and that's why it seems kind of confusing to me when she's sort of arguing with me. I'm like, I'm not really sure what she's getting at every
She's
time.
talking past you.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying really hard to understand her position, but it seemed like I'm just stating objective realities here. This isn't even really my opinion so much as what just is, and I'm just trying to explain it to you. But she's acting like I'm presenting some like weird alternative form of reality that I came up with.
Well, she doesn't. To be honest, I'll even ask you this, and tell me if I'm wrong. Does she even know her position?
Because the idea was it's like what makes men attractive.
I've just heard ambiguous language from her end. If you asked her to reconcile this and figure out what her position is, then that would end this whole crosstalk, talking past her. But she hasn't actually stated her position yet. All she's offered is ambiguous language, and she's dancing around this bush, not really hitting anything on the head. She just it's just too ambiguous. It's too broad. She's not concise with how she's talking about the specifics, because she doesn't know what a man is. She can't even describe this. If she's trying to tell you what that is, that can be confusing to most people, let alone me.
Yeah, I felt dumb because I was like, does everyone else understand? And I'm just the only one that doesn't get what's going on here and what the problem is and why we're debating this.
She has no position.
And that's the other thing is,
yeah,
I didn't go that hard in the paint with her because this wasn't a formal debate of any kind. We were just having a discussion.
It doesn't happen, Scott. If you need to go hard on a feminist, go in. Because here's the thing, though. Even if it's not a formal debate, I think that you can put people to school and educate them real quick, because then they'll start learning, and all you did was plant a seed. I think you're not harming or hurting anybody. I think that you can help her to have some growth, because her husband, okay, I'm not denigrating anybody when you say this. You could be outsourcing your husbandship to another woman. I know this sounds bad, but when it comes to asserting knowledge and planting a seed in another woman, because she's not getting seeds planted at home. That's not a double entendre I just told you, by the way. Don't read into that. But I'm just saying, metaphorically speaking, when we talk about knowledge, you could be imparting knowledge to this woman that she doesn't get at home about how the male species should work, that she's never gotten in her marriage, because she's gotten this far, which means she hasn't had those nuggets of knowledge planted that you could be missing out on by giving her all this. So.
Well, I keep going on to this, and it actually turns into a little bit of that. There's actually this question that comes up, I think, Mark.
Go off, Scott.
Where he kind of explains, like you can tell he hasn't heard my positions, my opinions on this before. I'm hoping that that's not too far ahead. Let's find out. It's to be a physical attraction. But once you actually get to know a person, that changes, because now you're getting into a situation where, oh, I'm starting to become more familiar with this guy. I'm starting to build trust. He's starting to generate resources for me and dedicate time to me and all these sorts of things. And I'm actually starting to see aspects of him that I didn't notice before when I was too busy examining his biceps, and that's where the love comes into play. But that's not what I'm really talking about. We're just talking about kind of the initial sort of scanning that occurs between the sexes, where we take snapshots of one another and determine what is and is not eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Bang, bang, bang.
Shit like
We got to wait for 5 minutes for this video to end, but okay, there it goes.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. Very well said. Carmen, do you have a rebuttal for his very eloquently articulated statement?
Why is that a question? You know she does.
There's a tumbleweed rolling between her ears right now, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Carmen. You have.
Carmen.
We just had to give him space to get his points out. All right, Carmen, if you got
no, I just think it all ties back to the same question that we started.
I called
with
it.
The theme of the podcast.
Did I not call this?
With attraction first, psychology comes second.
Yeah, I think
just
we
said
can
it.
get it out
He
here,
just
sort of.
Told me three.
Well, no, he
examples.
said that they both play into it at the same time.
I don't think so. I think one leads over the other.
Okay, so before I even started talking, there was this long back and forth about, is attraction primarily psychological in the beginning or is it biological? And that's why I made that statement where I'm like, it really doesn't matter. Both have to be at play.
It's part and parcel.
And-
That's what it is.
Yeah, and
part and parcel. You can't. So here's the thing, though. Two things can be objectively true at the same time. Scott, you've already acknowledged this, so I'll even agree with you on this. It's not that I'm just a yes man here, because I will say no if I disagree with you on anything. Anonymous knows I disagree with him on a panel before when it came to what was it, courage and bravery, some other BS. But going back to this, I think that can be objectively true. What I think she's doing is just being a detractor for no reason, and she doesn't still have a position when it comes.
No,
to
but he called. But if you play it, I don't know if it got past that part yet. But Scott actually called her out for that.
Yeah, I called her obtuse.
Yeah, he called her out because it seemed like she was just trying to be. It seemed like she was just trying to be a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian.
Yep. Well,
yeah, I think that happens pretty quick here.
Well, she has to be a contrarian because she doesn't have a position. And when you don't have a position, all you're going to do is be pushed back and you don't even have a reason why. She doesn't have.
And that's kind of what I called her out on.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see
based on how he outlined it, they both.
That
was you. Sorry.
He said that they both work simultaneously together.
Based on how he outlined it, I disagree. Based on how he outlined it, I think that the attraction comes first.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, do you have a rebuttal? Because if you disagree, okay, let me ask it like this. What did he get wrong? What did he say that was incorrect?
Nothing. That's his opinion. Of course not.
Well, wait a minute. If he didn't say anything that was incorrect, then how do you disagree with how he said it? What like how he framed it?
I disagree with the fact that he said that attraction and what in psychology comes. No, I think one has to lead the other. I don't think they have equal parts at all.
Well, then if you
I disagree with the fact that he weighs them both the same. No, I do not think that psychology. No.
Can I just point out that Mark really needs to learn to mute his mic when he steps away, because he sounds like he's like committing domestic violence in the background through this last part.
So this is what I would ask
so
her.
If you disagree, that means you think he said something.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is something I would ask her. Well, if you think that one comes before the other, how do you reconcile this? How come both can't show up at the same time? How does this process work for you? Like I would have asked her this. Well, how does this process work for you? Is this something that's normative, or do you think that one comes before the other? How can two not show up at the same time? And how can one show up without needing the other? And I would ask her this question. This would expose her logic real quick right away, because what she did was she asserted something without telling you why or how. And that's crazy for her to do this. And if you guys aren't questioning this and pushing back on, you guys are biting that bullet. That's crazy though. I'm not saying you guys are bad for this, but the fact that she's passing this off on you and just asserting it's true without telling you how it's true, that's crazy.
Well, we did have like a long, I don't know, it lasted 30 minutes where we were going back and forth of whether or not attraction is, psychological, emotional, or biological, like which one happens first or something like that. And I said, I thought it was a mixture. I thought it was biological first, because just based on what you see, is he strong? Is he tall? Can he do this and that? Like, you're not thinking about that, but that's kind of like how we're wired to look at the opposite sex. And then men are looking for something different. and then the rest of it after that. But she really believed, maybe Anonymous, you can remember some of her reasonings, but I can't right now. But she really believes that when you're initially attracted, it's emotions first.
Yeah, she was saying that. She was saying that it was emotions first, and most of the pushback I was giving her was because you can't necessarily base attraction on emotion, because every man you come in contact with, you're not going to have an emotional pull towards him. It just doesn't work that way. There's other factors that have to show up first before the feelings get developed.
It's funny because
that's what we're trying to get her to understand.
The funny thing is, I'll bring up a famous actor. You guys know who Chris Farley was, right? Famous actor. Yeah. A lot of women were like swooning over him. But just imagine if he never got to the point where he had money, to where he had fame, any status or anything like that. The guy's extremely funny and brilliant, but you would have never discovered him had he not worked to climb the echelons of acting, comedy, things like this. Like, he had to struggle to get to that point. And I'm not saying anything about his weight, but that might have added to the hilarious comedic situations that he ended up on camera, outside of the camera, things like this. So women, I'm not saying Zynga or anybody else involved with it, but I'm just saying in general, women will say these things like, oh, it's emotions, this and that. But it's like, do you understand what it took to become Chris Farley before you thought, you saw him and all these other women swooning him on the red carpet? Like, that's the thing that escapes me, and I don't understand that. You can map this onto anything else in reality. When it's like, when she sees a guy, she doesn't feel like his emotions. She sees this guy looking like Chris Hemsworth before anything else. And then she finds out that this guy's an asshole. That's how that usually happens, to be honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's sad too, by the way, just, not to detract from the main argument too much, but like Chris Farley's whole self-harm thing and the, unaliving and everything, it all stemmed from his weight, because he knew he was in a trap. He knew that like his career required him to be morbidly obese to be funny. And that if he got fit, he would lose that, and he would lose his identity. And so he was kind of stuck, and he felt trapped. And that's what ended up causing him to go down that road.
You know, it's funny you bring up Chris Farley. Who's the actor from not Hot Tub Time Machine, but the McLovin movie, or the fat guy? He has since lost weight, doesn't look the same anymore. And he's probably never going to be funny ever again. What's the guy's name? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. So that guy
looks great, by the way.
Relied on his weight, and I guess that's one example that I can point to where it's like women are going to see him and they're like, you used to be funny. Yeah, that's because I was fat, to be honest. That's a good example.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, let's get close to this argument here.
I think that was incorrect.
I didn't say that he was incorrect. That's his opinion. How can somebody not be?
Well, no, that's what I'm asking you. What did he say that was wrong? Because you said you disagree. If you disagree with somebody, that means you think they're wrong.
True. Okay.
See what I'm saying? So if you thought he was right, you would disagree with him.
No, I disagree with he perfectly presented his point. I disagree with the fact that he said that they play hand in hand. That's what I disagree with.
It's not what you said, it's how you said it.
No, that's not how I just think that
I missed it. What'd you say?
Masculinity does not equivalent to aggressive.
Get it together, Mark.
Why?
Too. And then I also disagree with the fact I'm like, you can fall in love with the potential of the person, but if they don't follow any action behind it, okay then.
Well, you're not disagreeing with him on that, because that's what he said earlier. He said the potential is there.
Well, I'm not gonna talk like he's not here. Sorry,
well,
Mr.
No, because
I'm disagreeing.
Right,
like,
but what he said was the power of potential. But he said capability has to play into it as well. You can have potential, but if you're not capable of making things happen, then it's kind of irrelevant. So he said one part, and then he gave the extra context, and he connected all the parts together. So that's what I'm asking you.
What is a man versus a man-child?
He just explained it.
The action behind it. Okay, so we agree on that.
I would say the easiest way to define it, since without giving a long-winded example, is basically just kind of what Anonymous was just saying. A man is the person who has the attractiveness and the potential and the will to actually make whatever it is, their dreams reality, right? Whether that's something simple like just running their own business or taking care of a wife and kids and providing for them consistently. That's a man. A man child is somebody who looks the part potentially. Maybe they've got the muscles. Maybe they are kind of handsome. Maybe they do have a good little bit of an aura about them. They have some charisma. They can smooth talk. They sell you on their big dreams and that sort of thing.
Quick question.
But then they
Who
literally
makes these
do
rules?
Whoa, one mic.
Then they literally do nothing. They just sit around and they talk about their dreams. That's a man child.
Right. But who makes these rules? And like, surely, like you've just given your perspective, Carmen just gave her perspective, and I'm asking you now, like, who makes these rules that you've just put out there to the entire world? Who makes these rules? Are you saying they're societal rules, or what?
I'd say men.
Men make these rules.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so okay.
Well,
no,
we
it's just a
definitely set the
question.
standard.
Just a question.
Yeah, and this is actually where I think the conversation gets more interesting to me because it takes more of like a religious philosophical bent where it really goes down a road I didn't expect. I don't know. What's your take on this, Anonymous? Like, I felt like he was just being adversarial for the sake of it. You know?
Well, you got to think about it like this, and like you can take this same logic. You could take this same logic and then look at it from a biblical perspective. But then if you take religion and all that out of it, it doesn't change the fact that men since the beginning of time understand that we're supposed to be the leaders, the providers, the protectors, and we're the ones that are supposed to establish law and order.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
We set a standard. I don't think like they're rules. They're not rules. I would say that there's like social contracts that we have because of these standards that we set. Other than that, so Mark is like making this fallacious question line of questioning by saying, who makes these rules? Well, nobody makes these rules. What we're doing is we're adhering to a standard that if not followed, society crumbles. Dating, relationships, marriages crumble if we don't uphold to these consistent standards that we have. So the rules are just modern objective reality that we see every single day. The fact that Mark shows up like this British old lady on some BBC network every time I have a panel.
Oh, really?
It's crazy. Like this guy shows up with the same old lady energy every time I see him with the tea and crumpets. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
At least I know what to expect when I have Mark on the panel. He's at least consistent about that.
Just tell him to mute his mic when he steps away, for God's sakes.
Yeah, please.
Duly noted.
Just a question. I ain't saying nothing. I'm just.
I'm about to duck in a minute.
Oh, that Cody. Yeah. Cody's been sat there, and we've all spoken over him for ages.
Real quick. I got to give a big shout out to Scott. I like you, brother. I like the way you think, Scott. I like the way you think, and I like the way you explain your perspective, man. I'm rocking with it. I'm rocking with it.
Yeah. I had to be some sort of a cohort and trying to get you in here because bro, I keep seeing you go off in the comment section. I'm like, bro, this dude batting 1,000. You need to get your ass up in here, cause man.
I've got a fan.
So you'll say, but what you've just said is that
here because he's talking about everybody else batting 1,000. When are you going to contribute to the panel, Cole D? How about that? Anonymous, can you tell him to get his ass up on the panel? He's on a panel, but he's still not on the panel. How about that?
Yeah, he is. No, because it's like the way I run the show is I invite people, and all I do is I just expect people to be themselves. I like to let the conversations flow naturally, and I don't necessarily like to cut people off when they're trying to get their thoughts out. So, like when Scott and Carmen were going back and forth, I didn't interject unless I needed to. I like to just let the conversation flow because there's something happening there that the viewers need to be paying attention to. And like I've explained to the other panelists before, the reason why I like having these panel discussions is because I think that everybody has some sort of perspective that needs to be presented to the table, whether we agree or disagree, because there's somebody out there that may take something from it and they may be able to benefit from it if they apply it the right way. We just don't know what it is until we let people get it out.
Yeah, but that's missing the point that I made. Like, let's say that Coley shows up and he doesn't say anything for he says 2 words the whole time. It's like, we should use force, right? Even though force isn't conversational force doesn't exist. I'd be like, so Coley, you've been sitting here and the crickets are loud as hell on your end. What do you think about this? I would do that because what you're talking about is we have people to contribute. I'm not stopping people from if he's not contributing at all, he's not on the panel. I'm just like, okay, so you're the comment section that you're talking about, which is louder than you, which is Scott, which is crazy. It should be the opposite. But Coley shows up, and this is so if I ever get on a panel with him, I'm going to say, hey, Coley, what do you think? Hey, Coley. I'm going to
but that's exactly what I do.
Okay.
That's exactly what I do.
All right, man.
I will vouch for Anonymous. He will pull him in.
All right. Just say it. All right, cool.
Let's see if I can get us a little closer to this part. I think Marte would find really interesting. It might be a minute or two in.
But also, Coley hasn't spoken really for 30 minutes.
Men call the shots, essentially, and make these rules, these societal calls. Is it not society that dictates? Do women not have a voice? Do they not have an opinion or something that actually leads us men? Or like I was saying earlier, Carmen said earlier, there have been many wars fought, on the behalf of women by men. So are we actually really calling the shots? Or are we thinking we're calling the shots driven by the fact that of lust and desire to impress and peacock the woman? Is it really not the woman that leads
what the hell
us or that makes us behave the way that we are?
It's a good
question. This is exactly why I let the conversation flow. This is exactly why.
What's wrong with this guy?
Exactly
this guy's
why
got problems.
But this is right, but this is exactly why I sit back and I just let the conversation flow.
No, I get it. I'm saying when there isn't a conversation and somebody's not contributing, that's what I'm referring to. Not the fact that people do contribute.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the opposite, the inverse of what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I understand exactly where you're coming from, brother. I got you.
Or masculinization, right?
Well, I've had instances.
Let me elaborate. So, in order to properly answer your question, you'd have to ask yourself, when the Trojans were they always being led around by the nose by women, or was it in that particular war? Right. So the idea here is that we understand that men have the potential to be led around by the nose by women, and have very clearly. You have the famous examples, Marcus Antony and Cleopatra and all that sort of stuff. But it's also been the case that there have been many logical decisions made by men. And one of the things you have to keep in mind is that the female psyche is very easily hackable. And they've made a lot of money over the years since propaganda became this major organized psyop on marketing. Right? Commercial marketing, by and large, is the manipulation of female buying habits. It's about getting into their brains and convincing them they need crap that they don't need. And that's why most of the economy in the West runs the way that it does, is because everything is geared around manipulating the female mind.
But you could argue,
that's money. That's completely separate than what we're talking about.
Right, because I could argue that we as men have been manipulated.
That's all money based. We can for sure manipulate you into doing anything. There's men that say that y'all would die for us. I'm sure you would die for Zynga. If somebody come in the house right now, you would step in front of a bull in front of Zynga.
That's not because she manipulated me into doing
it. Yeah, I was just about to say
have we not been?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this?
Yeah, this is fallacious on its face for her to say, well, it's money that starts everything. No, it's not money. Propaganda isn't money. I mean, it can be money, but propaganda is just messaging and brainwashing. Brainwashing isn't exactly money. If we think about this, it's like every kiss begins with K. Diamonds are basically cheap minerals, if we think about this, but it's because of De Beers that made them popular through propagandization. Now women want this thing. Now they can inflate the price of this to where it's like infinite dollars. Now women want this. It's because of a staunch marketing campaign that they had this. It wasn't money. It was because of marketing and brainwashing, and because of this consistent propaganda that they had. Money follows suit. Money isn't the leader of this. It's propagandization because, yes, when you talk about women being hackable, yes, women are easily propagandized. That's why if you take all the men off the planet, you would see the whole voting panel of America turn blue automatically. That's because of this is propagandization for LGBTQ. Hey, you love being with men and all this. Now we have gayer, stranger things happening. I guarantee you no man came up with this thought and said, we're going to have these two men. Like, that's not going to happen. That's crazy. But anyway.
She's also kind of doing this sort of like She-Ra thing where it's like all men are dying for women. All men are pursuing building the pyramids for women. Everything's about chasing the woman and pressing the woman. It's like, men did have ambitions when women are around.
Yeah, if you take women off the planet, pyramids would still be built. These buildings would still be built. Now, matter of fact, if you did take women off the planet, things would become more simple. I'd probably sleep on a mattress on the floor and a gun by my side. I wouldn't need all these other things. But the reason why I get all these things is just because I just want to make a life more comfortable for her. And matter of fact, if they didn't exist, my life would actually be more easier, to be honest with you. So women
100%.
actually add more. Women actually add more duty to our life instead of ease. If you think about this, like that's just everything in a nutshell. So what she's saying is completely wrong on its face.
Yeah, and to add to what Marte and Scott just said, there's actually a phrase that kind of proves what you said right. And the phrase says, women save money by being in a relationship and men save money by being single.
Where's the lie, though?
Well, I also don't like the woman worship aspect of it. Like somehow we're like behind the scenes controlling everything. And I'm like, well, I wasn't invited to the party because I'm not controlling anything. Right. So I say that later. We're not going to play it. But I was like, she's going to say some other stuff that's going to really get under your skin, Marte. But I guarantee you might have to check your blood pressure after this. But it's like this feminist like woman, like men worship women and we're the object of their affection and why they do anything. And I was like, I don't think that's the case. And I don't like it. It's weird. It's just taking all glory from God. And,
right. That's kind of where her and I were going back and forth about it because she kept trying to make it seem like a woman is a man's purpose in life.
Yeah.
That's
I think that's coming up here.
Yeah. That's kind of where it went left.
Okay.
Manipulated as men to behave this way, though.
And then
you think
Mark Anthony.
You think the only reason that I was myself is because of her?
Cleopatra convinced the man to take over the Nile. That was just Cleopatra.
Do you also are presuming that a man like Marcus Anthony wouldn't have any ambitions of his own? I mean, one of the most powerful men in the world at his time wouldn't have had any designs geopolitically of his own except for this woman.
His ambition was literally driven by this woman that he wanted to marry, that he wanted to love, and that he lost to Caesar. So what?
I would argue that his ambitions were driven by himself, and that she just
his ambitions. I argue that his ambitions was driven by.
She gave him impulsivity, which he already had to have the motivation in order for him to make the decisions.
She gave him impulsivity.
Gave him the potential to draw the action what he needed to be done, and then
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hot you are, how sexy you think you are. You're not going to get a lazy, unambitious man to go and conquer a nation for you. He already has to have it in him.
Right, yeah.
Of course. No,
right? You're not going to get a coward to jump in front of a bullet for you, no matter how much you sleep with him.
Podcast. I think
he still has to be a brave
men have manipulative ways and women have manipulative ways.
I have no doubt that women can control the head by being the neck at times, and I'm not saying that hasn't happened. But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, men drive all of society's functions, and they're also its enforcers. Feminism is a perfect example. If feminists all just collectively decided that, as women, we're going to rise up and take control of the world through force, that would be a very quick and very ugly lesson that we'd have to teach you. On the flip side, if all men just suddenly decided that women were going to be sex slaves and there wasn't anything you could do about it, there would be nothing you could do about it. It's called force doctrine.
I like Anonymous. I was watching your face the whole time. Scott was talking. It was just like some of the things were like so good to you, like you were in church hearing the gospel.
But here's the
You're
thing,
just
though.
like-
Just think about being a child raised by her as a mom in your household. The way that she said things like already irks the grammar Nazi me. She says men are droven. They're not driven. And then who orders a Caesar salad? What about a Caesar salad? Like, I'm just like, bro, the pronunciation and the grammar is just killing me already. My blood pressure's through the roof and the grammar Nazi is about to jump through the window right now. This is crazy.
Every time I hear the word Caesar mispronounced, I always think of Fallout New Vegas when they're always calling it Caesar.
Said Caesar. I was like, who's Caesar? And then who's
I just thought that maybe
Droven
English was her
to
second
stuff?
language.
What about driven? So crazy.
I just figured English is her second language.
Well, yeah, she's Dominican.
Okay.
That's why. Yeah, she's Dominican.
I'm half Dominican, but that's not an excuse. That's crazy. You live in America. Anyways, let's get
Just one of those things that's just biologically true. It doesn't even have to be a philosophical discussion. All you
Yeah,
have
I
to
think
do is
there's these universal truths that you can't deny, no matter
Yeah,
how ideological you want to be about things. Like there are universal truths. Like
we've been
what
living in a
goes up always
society
comes
that has
down.
gotten so overly feminized that
Yes,
women have gotten a
no,
distorted
I'm not
sense
saying
of their own
it's not a
actual authority and
distorted-
power.
It's not a distorted vision at all. Yes, you control the force.
Women have convinced
But
themselves
you-
that they have
we-
more power
we
than they
con-
actually have, and men
we
have simply
control
not
your
wanted to
legacy.
fight with them. But
We
reality
control
is, a
your
lot of men
legacy.
are
What do you
simply
even?
not.
Oh, I don't want to be too racist. I mean, we control your legacy though. So yes, you are perfectly right that you can force me to do what you want.
Scott made a really good point there that women have been lied to that they have more power than they actually do. But that goes back to what Marte was saying about the propaganda. It's like all these TV shows and stuff where you've got these women like that chick Beth on Yellowstone, where she's like, she's not even a woman. Like she just happened to be born with a vagina and breasts, but she's like a psychopathic man. And it's like that woman, I agree with Nick DiPaolo, that woman doesn't exist. That woman was absolutely insane. But somehow she's like a heroine and we should all kind of try to be like her or something like that. And that's just not how we're wired. We don't act that way. We don't conduct ourselves that way. We don't talk to other people that way. And it's like only if we're high and like we're being arrested or something like that. That's the only time that ever happens.
Right.
But we all know that that woman is insane and crazy. And so I was like, man, I'm so glad Scott said that because we have been told that we have more power than we actually do. And then we have like this pseudo power, like where we can go to college and rack up debt. And it's like, that's not power. Now you're under the thumb of some man that you owe money to, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we control your legacy. If it wasn't for us, then after you die, there's nothing.
What?
So what are you really fighting for?
Well, if it's
You're
just
fighting
progeny,
for you're fighting for your legacy, which is
right.
controlled
But
by
if my
a
legacy is
woman.
purely genetic, I'd just find a sex slave.
No.
What?
No.
Well, no, that's true. That makes sense. If our legacy is purely genetic, then you'll just find a sex slave. Like
Right.
seriously.
What makes
That makes-
an
that
individual
makes
woman
sense.
special to us that makes us chivalrous
fine.
and honorable
The
is the
lineage.
fact
Okay,
that the
so if we
man
wouldn't
has
be-
to be
if-
chivalrous and
Hold
honorable.
on, one mic. Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
If there wouldn't be any concubines for the king to conquer, what would the king conquer?
Well, that
there'd
would
always be
that,
conflict.
that was that
Godzilla.
world.
I mean, I guess nothing because it's not lenient. It's not. If by that logic,
Carmen,
then
I feel like you're being
every other
deliberately
king.
obtuse. I feel like you're being.
No, she's not being deliberately obtuse. No, she's not. She's not being
Mark,
deliberately
Mark.
obtuse. I
Hold
think
on,
she's
one
being
mic, one mic,
reasonably
one mic.
questioning. Actually.
Hold on,
No, Mark.
One mic,
stop.
one
This
mic,
is
one
very
mic,
easy to
one mic.
comprehend. If
Mhm.
you guys didn't, if you guys weren't given authority by us, if we weren't enforcing laws as men, then you guys wouldn't be able to do anything. Even the cultural standards and things that Mark was discussing, the cultural norms that we accept as taboo, this or that, if all the men collectively just decided that they wanted to say the C word all the time, the women can't stop them.
Okay, but hold up. I don't think she was being obtuse in her line of questioning, actually. I don't
there
think she
he
was being
goes.
obtuse or deliberately obtuse. I think she was actually coming from a genuine
You're asking me
standpoint
about
of...
the
No, because I think what Carmen's argument is something along the lines of, something...
will deliberately decide not to have sex with.
Look, I'm not taking sides. I'm not taking sides
You
because I
are!
don't disagree with anything that Scott said.
So
Stupid.
okay,
That would never
But-
happen, Carmen.
how?
But
That would never happen.
Oh,
But the
okay.
point being,
So if all the women cease to exist to not have sex with anybody, y'all wouldn't. Okay,
That's what I'm
y'all sex
talking about.
slaves.
That's
Y'all
deliberately
sex slaves.
obtuse.
Y'all
There's
sex
no
slaves.
scenario.
no, I think that what
relevant.
Carmen is
This isn't
It's
saying
False equivalent.
is that
And then here comes Mark to save the day, and then he says, "I'm not here to take sides," while taking sides. And this is so stupid, Mark. Oh God, please rub brain cells together and then make good somehow. Like it's just, we got to make this happen, bro.
I just don't understand. Like this should be so. I don't know how to phrase this. Probably like the
Elementary?
things that I say are so evidentially like basic and obvious.
These are
that I should
foundational
be
things that you're talking about.
I should be boring to people. It's like I think
Right.
I think that Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire said this years ago. He's like, I've basically gotten famous for saying normal people things. You know what I mean? Like it's just because the world has gotten so crazy that he is now controversial. And I feel the same way in this conversation. That's why I'm calling her obtuse. I'm like, are you just arguing with me because you just are on screen and you need something to do? Like this feels dumb to me.
Like how much of Carmen is really genuine, and then when the camera comes off, are you traditional again? Like it just boggles the mind and begs the question of like, you know, how much of this is really genuine, Carmen? Do you really believe this shit you're saying? Because, and mind you, the whole time that I've been on this podcast with you fine people, by she's never had a point. She's never had a stance yet. She still doesn't have a stance. She doesn't have an argument or anything. She's still ambiguous. That's it. And you're right. She's being obtuse.
I disagree.
Yeah, this conversation very much reminds me of kind of how it was talking to chicks in college, especially after we all had a few drinks. You would start pontificating about something that was like self-evidently true, you know, like, I don't know, something like really obvious, like physics or something where it's like nobody can dispute it, you know?
Yeah.
And they would find a way to turn it into something they could argue about. And it's just being oppositional or defiant. I don't know what the deal is, but that's what this felt like.
Yeah, it feels like Mark is the total absolute feminist here too. He totally is, because he's coming in to save her and bail her out because she can't defend herself. She has no position at all. And then Mark comes in and says, no, she does have a position, even though I can't define it. And I tell you, I'm not taking sides while I'm taking sides. So crazy.
I have noticed that whenever somebody starts getting the better of a female in an exchange, he always has to white knight a little bit.
He'll do that.
Yep.
That's what he does. Yep.
We are right, mate. We're driven by our balls, yeah. We're driven by our testicles and our instinctive desires, animalistically.
Very much.
At the end of the day, very much so. Okay, all humans are. No, we are. We are. Humans are driven by their animal instincts. We have managed to evolve into being humans, and what we are able to do is we're able to go against our natural instincts. So, for example, we self-suppress deliberately for the sake of the human nature. Yeah. Right, we self-suppress. So, for example, we don't go around just raping and pillaging, yeah, because we've got a sense of conformity, what is right, what is wrong, what is good for the greater good, and so we self-restrict and we self-suppress. Now, self-suppressing doesn't mean negativity. It doesn't mean a bad thing, right? And we do it, right, and we evolve. And what Carmen was saying also, I agree with, is the fact that historically you can see that without women, right, there to drive our testicles and our balls, we wouldn't have done half the shit we did in the past. Wars wouldn't have happened. Empires wouldn't have.
Mark, hold on. I have to. Mark is making absolute no sense right now. He says three things, and I'll point them out to you. He says we have evolved into humans. If evolution really happened, I tell Mark, then why are there still monkeys? Why do we still have monkeys if we evolved into humans? And then second of all, you don't think men are driven by logic and our own cognitive reason that we have, or even a foundational understanding of theology, which culture streams downward from? And if you think about this, it's like, no, because if we were all animals, we would never have a distinct civilization that we have right now. And then he's also implying that women have led men. This is asinine. This whole thing that he's just espousing right now is just feminist propaganda. He's truly a feminist in his own making right now. Obviously, outing himself as a public overt feminist right now.
Hey, what was that animal you said?
Monkeys. I like how you played that when 3 black people on the panel. Nice. I like it. Black culture should be on the way of the dodo, by the way. But anyways, we have the white patriarchy here, and I appreciate it. I'm going to make my move over to the white patriarchy in dating, and I'm not going to go into that. But anyways, yeah.
What's funny is, like, we should have, if I was on with Scott, I think I would have been like, can you demonstrate how women have led men by the balls?
Yeah.
Again, was I not invited to this party? Because I have not done that. Are we talking, like, is he talking about just sex? The other thing too, is he thinking from his point of view? Because men are driven by a lot of different things. And maybe Mark is speaking for Mark, that Mark has been led by the balls because he just wants the nookie all the time. So he just does whatever women say.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. Sex is extremely fleeting when we talk about this. We modernize culture to the point to where we have corn on our phone every day. And then what happens? The average bachelor puts it down. Oh, disgusting. And then we go about the things that we need to do throughout the day and forget about the 30 seconds that we needed and then go about our day because that's behind us. It's not imperative, and it's not the running thing that runs culture in society. I think the thing that runs culture in society are things that prevent us from becoming denigrated to a third world society, like EMP, things like that. Sex would be out of the window as far as the thought. We think about food, water, shelter, meaning this whole structure that we have, infrastructure, nuclear, sewage, all this other stuff. And then sex, if that happens to be there, it's not a priority. What he's saying is that we're driven by these animal instincts, which means then how come we have a civilized society if we're driven by just balls by itself? Inherently, that's what you're saying. We're just animals. But we have a civilized society. We modernized everything. We have air conditioning, but we're driven by our none of what he's saying makes sense in objective reality. Scott, do you agree with that? This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, as the male monkey on the panel, I will agree with
the albino monkey. Scott, the albino.
It's just well, you know what's interesting about it is, like, you think about what was it? Some Brazilian researcher went off into the rainforest and found one of these, like, real obscure tribes that had never been exposed to, like, social media or the internet, and then they gave them, like, smartphones and access to porn, and apparently it just made all the guys super lazy. They just sat around in a circle all day long. They stopped hunting, they stopped building, they stopped foraging, they stopped, like, fighting other tribes, and they literally just sat there and, like, looked at butts all day. And, you know, it's like women will use that and say, like, see, we're the driving force behind civilization. It's men's desire to mate is the reason that men do anything. And it's like, have you ever seen those experiments where if you give a rat an orgasm, it'll literally just keep pressing the button for the orgasm instead of the button for food, and they'll starve to death?
Yeah, you stop.
Right?
You stop society, because that doesn't run societies. It actually stagnates
it's an
society.
Addiction. It's an addiction to a dopamine and a physiological hit. The woman is immaterial, right? Like, I'm not going to say, I'm not saying that men don't want to have women, but what I'm saying is there's a deeper meaning behind the things that they do. It's a spiritual purpose. It's a purpose to become a patriarch. And that's why you make a family. It's to build a legacy so that you can be remembered forever, like one of those ancient heroes, right? Like, guys don't get into relationships purely for the sake of breeding. Like, again, it's like I said, they're not animals. They're not animalistic. And I actually think I get into that a little bit here.
I was going to say, I've never agreed with the whole, like, the reason why men do anything is for sex. Because I'm like, well, you would have to explain all these inventions and philosophers that just sat around thinking about things all day, and theologians and stuff. I'm like, that they didn't do that for sex, because that's not sexy.
Fun fact, I'll even point out, because it's ironic to the discussion and the topic, is the guy who created the revolving door because he was sick of opening doors for women.
Oh, there we go.
So I do have to say something. One of my chatters brought this up. Wick Moto, I'll give you credit for this, but I do believe that because I totally agree with this, I think that if we ban corn and ban the sedation, we ban the stagnation of certain things from being developed, and we ban the limitation of imagination from being acted out in this world, what you're going to do is have birth rates increase. If we ban corn, birth rates would shoot through the ceiling, because we're definitely going to have to find an avenue that isn't corn or anything like that related. We're going to have the burden of overcoming performance anxiety, approach anxiety, and all these other things, and develop skills to actually attract women when that happens. I think that if Trump said we're going to ban corn tomorrow, this is going to happen because obviously Maduro's been taken out and all this other stuff. He's capable of banning corn if you're going to do these extremes, which I think that was very base, by the way. And we go back to banning corn, that solves our birth rate crisis. Everybody's going to be like, you know what? We're just going to have sex because there's no corn. We're going to have to, like, forget about the black market. That's going to happen, but you're going to mitigate so much and add to the birth rate in the process of doing this.
Do you see that in Russia they're they're throwing around this idea that they're going to like turn off the electricity and turn off like the heat at certain times of the night so that people have to have
9 o'clock
the intercourse.
9 o'clock. No, that's already happening right now in Putin's
so they actually did it.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock they turn the electricity off because they need to go ahead and implement this birth rate increase, and they've already done this. I think they started last month. Scott, I can send you the info on this. I was going to do a podcast about something like that, but that's what happened. This is actually happening in reality right now, which is very based, by the way. I think America should follow suit to some degree, but I think banning pornography could also follow suit part and parcel with turning everything off at 9 o'clock. Yeah.
They'd have to ban abortion at the same time. Just do both of them at the same time.
But unfortunately, we left it up to the states to decide this. But I think that if you live in a very base state, we would have to follow suit as that state, and it would be our duty and due diligence to produce in that state because we're competing with states that want to delete babies.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you say, girl, I'll keep you warm in Russian?
I don't know, but I might want to learn different.
All right, let's see how this debate sort of came to its conclusion.
And at the end of the day, we can't deny that as much as men are in charge, we're driven. We're driven by women. We're driven by them, unfortunately. Whether you want to deny it or not, I know you are. I know you're driven by the desire to peacock your life through the world. That's why you're here right now, to prove your point and to maintain your woman.
As you're white knighting.
I think that there's a lot more to what you're saying, but I'd like to modify it a bit.
What the hell? Mark doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Let me just say that right now.
So Scott came on because he said power is what makes men instantly attractive. And then he was using the restroom and they were all saying like, I wonder what he meant by that. I hope he comes on to explain. So when he came back, I said, hey, do you want to come on? It wasn't from me. Scott says no to me all the time. A lot. And I don't like it. If he didn't want to come on, he wouldn't have come on.
Good.
Right.
Sometimes cough medicine doesn't taste good until they made it great flavored and all that, but it was good for you. You needed it. That's what I'm saying.
I said, do you want to come on? I didn't say, come on or you'll get none.
I just feel like he was like attempting to bait me. And I'm realizing now I'm watching my own face that when I'm annoyed with people, I try really hard to be stoic to the point to where it's like a new expression. So I can tell when I'm irritated with people now.
Yeah.
One of the things that you described is that we're all driven by animal instincts. Well, human beings have what I would say are passions. They have bad instincts that they have to suppress, but it's about it's about trying to find your way closer to God, right? Achieving theosis, becoming perfect, right? As God is perfect, as the New Testament says. So what these instincts that you're describing, civilization, honor, sacrificing yourself for females, right? Not just raping every woman you see in order to, like a Mongol warlord, getting as much of your DNA out there before you die so you have the massive legacy. All of these decisions are not driven by feminine instincts. They're driven by godly instincts. Woman is meant to be a helpmate to man. She's not meant to be the driving engine behind his ambition. She's not the force by which God leads man around by the nose in order to get him to do what he wants, like a widget or like an animal. Women are meant to be in synergy with men in order to complement us in a different way. And so speaking to your earlier premise, which led us down this path, you were talking about, is society not driven by some feminized instincts and some feminized trends and that sort of thing? And yes, it is currently, but it's only that way because men allow it. And that was my point, is that this is not all driven by women. There's not some divine female thing that all men are sort of hurtling towards, like, gravity. or like a black hole that we can't escape from. The reality is that that force is God, and women are meant to be there to help us.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. It makes perfect sense. Would you say that women?
Let's be real. He didn't understand what you were saying, and it doesn't make sense. He's going to agree because I guarantee this went over his head. I'll bet you $50 it did.
Well, he says something to the effect that might illustrate that point.
Amplify, like the women or the female energy, then thus therefore amplifies the male energy, is because they're there to help us.
I don't like the term of energy. It sounds new agey, but I get
or amplify our relationships, like a good amplify us.
Z and I
amplify the men.
Yeah, I mean, Z and I have a great synergistic relationship where we have complementary roles and different responsibilities, and we do the best we can to support one another and kind of help each other when the other person's down, or maybe encourage the other person to do more if they're not living up to their potential. So I think that's what a good example of feminine energy for a man would be, is just somebody who is there, who's do or die, ride or die, I think is a better term, and is going to be supportive, but they're also going to know what their place is, right? Like she and I are not in a power struggle in our relationship where I have to worry about constantly putting myself one up above her in order to get her to actually listen to me and do what I want. We both know what the hierarchy is, and so everything's just assumed, and it's just a nice, easy balance where we can just do things and just have discussions, and everybody understands.
The purpose is for you
to pause it before she says that. I'll back it up.
She's about to say something.
She's about to get into something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, she's gonna get into something that's like really gonna burn everybody's britches. But I would say one thing that I would have added to what you were saying, Scotty, is that marriage is not supposed to be a power struggle, like where the woman is leading him by giving or not giving sex and all that stuff. Men aren't dominating women by threatening them with punches to the mouth. Like marriage is supposed to be salvific. So we're supposed to help each other reach theosis and be more like Jesus and be more like God. And so when people get into marriage, I think, and I would guess Carmen is one of these people. It's just kind of like, oh, I love this person, so we decided to tie the knot, and we're just kind of here. But when he gets on my nerves, he ain't getting none. And you know what I mean? It's just like this weird power struggle when it's not supposed to be that. Where it's what Scott said, but I think it's also marriage is salvific, and it's supposed to make you better, and we're supposed to help each other get to those goals.
It's funny. I was a non-denominational Protestant like pretty much all of my life since I was 5. And I'd heard of gazillion different pastors and, religious scholars that were Protestants take on what marriage was. And it wasn't until I actually joined an Orthodox church where I actually heard the term marriage is a sacrament, as in it is a salvific sacrament that must occur in order to help you achieve theosis. That the marriage act in and of itself, the whole process of it, literally changes you and makes you saved. To a certain extent, it contributes to that process, and that made it just 1,000 times more impactful than I already had this great respect and weight for our marriage and everything. And I was just like, wow, because that was just such a fantastic way to put it that I'd never heard before.
I will say this though, Scott. I don't know. I have to ask you both a question. Are you both baptized already?
No, we're just catechumens. We just got through all the classes, and we just reading lots of books and just kind of soaking it in and getting. We did the whole. I did the whole Advent fast. I actually stuck to it, so that was fun.
We probably should be in September getting baptized.
I've been a catechumen for like almost 2 years, and I think so. Today I just had my life confession, and that is a very powerful thing. So you're spilling your guts, and I'm not going to go into it, but I felt like
I just had mine like 2 weeks ago.
With my spiritual father, who looks like a more in shape, skinny Cenk Uygur. I'll just say that. That's my spiritual father. And then, not to mention that, but tomorrow's my baptism, so I'm going to go in the water, and then I'm going to wear white after that. Awesome. So yeah, that's when it's happening. Get baptized tomorrow. So.
That's awesome, dude. I wish we could be there for you.
I did invite Andrew and Rachel out, but it was too close. They barely just dropped it on me, so it's whatever.
Nope. I think it's kind of cool though too that you're going to get dunked right before Theophany.
Yeah,
when they do the blessing of the lake.
So I am talking to somebody right now, and she said it's very base that I'm getting dunked before Theophany. And then here's the other thing too, is like I think that once this happens, I think that when it comes to being attacked, I'm going to be attacked like triple, compared to like what I used to be attacked as before. Now I'm like completely an adversary of Satan. So now that when I'm going to be in, if you think that it's going to be easier, I think it just got tougher now, just to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, dude, we've had you on our prayer list for months. So.
Oh yeah,
There
especially
you go.
about the other thing too. I need to. That's that thing right there that we talked about. Yeah, that would be great, man. I appreciate that. So, yeah, leaving black culture behind. You guys know what I mean by that. Anyways, yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Hey, Zinga and Scott, you said you guys were going to be getting baptized sometime in September. Did I hear that right?
Hopefully, our spiritual father does a year catechism. So we'll see what he says. So far,
September what?
it's smooth.
Yeah, so they want us to experience the full liturgical calendar, go through the set of classes. We've already done the classes. They gave us a few books to read. We've already killed those, and now we're just gobbling up everything we can get a hold of. And then the rest of it's basically just experiential. They just want you to participate in all of it. So we've just been trying to be as part of things as we possibly can.
Okay. Is there a specific day in September? Because my birthday's in September.
I don't know.
It hasn't been scheduled yet.
Yeah, it's going to kind of depend. I think there's probably a set day. I just don't know what it is.
Okay.
One more side note: I did my life confession a few weeks ago, and I didn't cry during. I'm not a huge crier, but I went outside, and like it was like for the first time, like I was like, "Oh, I'm forgiven of all those things." And I sat on a bench and I cried like a baby.
One more side note, though. I think that so if you guys are going to miss my baptism, I'll send you guys wedding invitations if that happens. Or actually, let me say when that happens, I'll send you guys Andrew Wilson has said that he'll be the best man at my wedding, and I'm going to hold his ass to the fire when it comes to this. So he'll be the best man, and I'm sure Rachel will be coming. So I'm sending you guys invitations as well, too.
Man, we can't wait because you remember when he was on Grid One and he was up there arguing with other people. He gets into more arguments than I get in, which is awesome. But
nice.
We were talking about marriage and how it's what's the word we were using? No, it's ecclesiastical marriages.
Oh,
is that what it is?
Yep.
And we were talking to our spiritual father's wife. And she was like, yeah, because they had to get married in the eyes of the church. They were already married in the eyes of the state. They got married in the eyes of the church. And I was like, so wait, is that a thing? Like, could we do that? And she was like, oh yeah. So when we get baptized, we're going to have another wedding. And so then it'll expose all of our friends and family to orthodoxy. I cannot wait.
Hey, can I get an invitation? I'm just saying, I'd love to get an invite. That'll be cool. And I could show up for that. So.
We will definitely send you one. And the problem I have is like people, like if they do invite me to this sort of stuff, I have to explain to them that I'm broke. Like I can't afford to fly out and like do this stuff. Like I wish
we will make that ish happen though. We'll save up.
We need more super chats.
Okay. How about a digital invitation? I'll take a digital one. That's fine. I don't mind. I'll fly out. Yeah.
Marte's auntie will be like, can you see it, baby?
Oh, no, please not. And then she puts her pager on the screen like, these are the numbers, baby. Like, we don't use pagers anymore, Grandma. Come on, bro.
But this is I'm going to finish up this conversation so you and I can just chat and hash things out. But this is interesting to me because, again, I wasn't really emotionally invested in this discussion / debate. But then, like, when I was able to steer it into Christianity, I was secretly, internally like, this is what I would really like to talk about. So do things and just have discussions and everybody understands.
The purpose is for you to protect Zinga, is it not?
No, my purpose is theosis. Zinga is
the purpose. Zinga has your children. You have your family. You have
incorrect.
That's not your purpose.
No,
she's not my sole purpose in life.
No,
she is a grave responsibility of mine. I have to minister to her, and I have to present her before God on Judgment Day and say, like, here you go. I took good care of her. Hopefully, she meets your standards. And I turned her into you better than I found her. Same thing with my children, but she's not my ultimate purpose. My ultimate purpose is the maintenance of my own soul and all of the decisions that come out of that.
based. That is probably the most truest thing I've heard in a long time. And not only is it accurate, but Scott, I also alluded to this by saying that women are a burden. Remember I said this, but I think that not all burdens are bad. This could be a good burden, but this also leads to something that's very salvific for us. In order for us to have the body of Christ, I think our wife is the encompassing part of that as well too, along with us and the family that we had. So that makes up the body of Christ. I'm telling you something you already know anyways, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting though, because again, it speaks to that mind shift. Like when things got really, really hard for Z and I with the kids, and with finances, and with me trying to be working multiple jobs and taking care of her and taking care of the kids and still showing up to church and doing all these other things, like the weight was crushing to me. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, that's the cross. That's literally the cross that I was given to save my soul. Like, I have to carry this. I have to figure out how to march on with this and not be a big whiny baby about it. Like, this is literally going to save me. And that was the big, I think, mental shift that took place for me, was realizing that all of the pain and suffering wasn't there to like smush me. It was as much as I could carry.
Yeah, I think that's a good. Matter of fact, you said it more concise than I could have ever said that. I think carrying our cross needs to be defined, and I think it's good to, even ad nauseum, if you could say the same thing over and over, and you've said it for the 50th time, I think it needs to be said, because I think in America, that's good propagandization. I think that we should have that on podcasts. We should repeat this on various other podcasts, not just this or echo chambers. I think we should go into liberal spaces and repeat this too, as much as we get fight back sometimes too. I think that even at best of, we were talking about Zynga, we're being ostracized from the Black community. I think even at risk of doing this, we can plant seeds and then bone out or get blocked or banned, but at least we left something behind better than what we found it. And to me, I think that's purposeful change that we need, and also great positive propagandization that we need.
I'm down. I ain't scared.
Yeah, I ain't scared either.
Mayo monkey on the march.
Scared.
That should be your YouTube handle.
The Mayo monkey. I'm sure that's taken. It's got to be taken. So that's why I think it's really and we'll bring Anonymous in with the soundboard to designate, because you might think to yourself, like, well, what's the real difference here? I mean, if you're trying to be a good man either way, why do you have to distinguish it like that? And I distinguish it like that specifically and advisedly because I think society likes to put women in this category that sort of makes them a false idol. When she and I became married, we became one flesh. So it's no longer this, balls and cup receptacle and all this weird ubu pagan mysticism that goes along with all that feminine energy or anything like that. We're just one person who have to help each other maintain their souls until we get back to the end of the world, get back to creation, get back to the real place, real life when all this is over.
No, and real quick, Scott was absolutely right, Carmen. As men, we're not supposed to have any woman as our purpose. It's not supposed to be that. That's a perfect
example. That's what happens when you make a woman your purpose. You become Mark Anthony and you get led around by the nose by a Jezebel female, and things go badly for you. But when you're able to firmly and logically and compassionately look at a woman and say, no, like, that's not good for you or for me, and you make those kinds of decisions, that's a real man. And that's why real men run societies. And that's why our society is failing and is feminized, is because it hasn't been run by strong men. They have been weak men who have been letting the women run roughshod over them for too many generations. And that's why you're seeing the world that you see.
I don't think. Do you know something?
I don't think any man, but I think the woman that you made your wife and the woman that essentially leads your lineage, yeah, she should be your purpose.
No.
Otherwise, why are you here?
Carmen,
when you die, there's nothing here. That is your purpose. Your purpose is to protect your bloodline and protect your lineage. What are you talking about?
She's taking men and kind of like,
she's making a monolith. That's what she's doing.
Well, it's like they're just for our utility, like women's utility, where it's just like, you're just here to do this, and this for us, and that's it. You're here to protect, provide, and worship. And
Yeah.
I was like, she's describing worship. She's not describing love or marriage or anything else.
Well, not to mention this, but she's making a monolithic statement saying men are just this. They're this Swiss Army knife that's supposed to fulfill our needs. But do you understand what you're saying? So Zinga, if I'm going to Stillman, what you're saying correctly is she's saying that women are she's deifying women here. Like, let's be honest, that's literally what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's I read Rachel Wilson's book, and a lot of these deep feminists, not just kind of like TikTok feminists, but like these women who are I guess the leaders of the movement, they're into some really weird stuff, and they really love like worshiping feminine gods, like female deities, and they think that they should be worshipped the same. And so I don't even know if Carmen knows this, but she's kind of dipping her toe into some real like pagan waters that have occultist roots.
Well, I mean, not even that, but even I'll even banter with Scott about this. Scott, would it be weird if I came to you and said, hey, we're going to have a men's retreat. All the gods are going to get together and we're going to feel like gods. And I just kept saying God and deifying man like this. Well, women do this every week at yoga retreats. They'll say, oh, we're going to have a goddess retreat this week. It's normative now that they deify themselves. They'll say, oh, I feel like a goddess. And, I like to be the queen and reign supreme. Men don't talk about kings and gods as much as women do on their side, because what they do is they deify themselves and they want to be, I think it's envy. I think a lot of this can be envy. This could be also the fact that you want to be a boss babe when really, if you're a boss babe and we are denigrated to a third world society, you wouldn't cut the mustard. Let's be honest with this. If the infrastructure went away tomorrow, would you still be a boss babe? Probably not. You'd look for the real thing. Women are now weak versions of men now. That's all a boss babe is. And when they're using this deification of themselves by calling themselves bosses, which Carmen's doing right now, saying that women lead men, I think it's asinine and crazy, and reality is going to slap her upside the head in no time flat.
And what's interesting is in college, when I was in film school, they showed a montage and they were talking about advertising and how it affects women. And the thesis of it was there was a voiceover going on as they were flashing through all these famous female commercial campaigns that were successful. They showed like the body positive Dove soap commercials. They showed a few others. And as it was going on, the speaker, gives the voiceover that basically says all of modern marketing is presenting the apple to Eve and convincing her to take a bite. And it was very interesting that it was very self-referential. Like it was aware that it was making this sort of almost demonic suggestion to all women, and that they were proud of that, and then they went through this sequence of words from all these famous commercial campaigns. It's saying things like you said, like goddess or, like boss, all these power words. And there was definitely some like occult connotation to it. And I remember it was interesting because somebody piped up at the end of it who was an atheist and was basically saying like I wasn't aware of any of this when I worked at such and such firm. Like we weren't trying to like be like the serpent, and that sort of thing. And the instructor, to their credit, who was also an atheist, basically said like, well, you don't have to. You still fit the motif, because let's be real about our intentions here. When we're trying to do these sorts of things, we're using slippery tactics of psychology to get women to do things they may otherwise be against their best interest.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's not always the case. He's like, selling a woman tampons might be a good idea. He's like, the alternative could get ugly. He's like, but that's why we use slippery language, is because we know there's something primal in women that makes them want to be rebellious, and we sell them rebellion.
Well, you're talking about people who are easily propagandized. And I think that's why, if you talk about people who are susceptible to emotional propagandization, I think that is the party that we're talking about. I think that there's two distinct gardens that I'll bring up right now, and two distinct examples. The Garden of Eden was where man fell, right? And Adam died in the garden, right? And this was because we couldn't stand the test of time and we fell to self. And this is because our leadership had failed. And God didn't say, hey, Adam, he didn't say, hey, Eve, where are you at? He said, Adam, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? He didn't ask for Eve, even though she's the one that bit the apple. But if you think about this, Christ was in a different garden. He was in Gethsemane. I'm messing the name up.
No,
If
that's
that's
right.
Is that the name?
Gethsemane.
Gethsemane. Okay, so he
Gethsemane.
was in the
All
garden.
right, Carmen.
And he talked to God the Father and said, hey, Lord, I don't know. Can you pass this cup to somebody else? This burden is too great, all this. And then he just said, you know what? Let your will be done. I'll just follow you. And he submitted to God completely. So you have two different men in life that you could be. You can be the man in the Garden of Eden and then submit or refuse to submit. Or then you could be the Christ and like Christ and move toward theosis and then submit to God completely. I think I would move the latter to Christ. And I think that when we submit, we're taking on this massive burden. And Scott, you've even said it yourself, it's so much, my knees are buckling because of all this weight. You feel like you want to pass the cup. Christ said this too. He said, can you pass this cup and burden to somebody else? Had this conversation, said, you know what? I'm just going to submit. At the end of the day, men have to submit to God, the Father. And we have to think about this. All this leads to our salvific end in the end. And I think that this is good. I think that for our salvation, we need to have this burden, but people move away from duty. And you'll notice in Carmen's language, she doesn't talk about duty. It's all I want, and you should do this. And men are just a monolithic structure in society. To me, I'm just like, this is so ambiguous. And she just puts men in a box. I just think this is crazy. She's a feminist as well, too.
Yeah, and I think even if she wouldn't self-identify as a feminist, it's crazy how much it seeps into people if they're not on guard against it or actively resisting it. I will say this though, like kind of to stick to the thesis of the show, which is what makes men attractive. I have something that I would like to say. I would say that what makes men attractive is when they embrace God's purpose, because it's going to resolve all the other issues. I can see that happening in my own life. I've seen it happen to other men. All these guys right now are suffering this crisis, all these young Gen Zs who my heart really bleeds for. I wish I could do more for them. I really am not in a position to do much. I'm not famous. Yeah, but not yet. I'm not famous. I don't have money.
I think you undermine yourself when you don't give yourself enough credit. You show up on panels. People on my side are watching. I have what? Let me go check. 27 total. It's not a lot of people. This is between X and YouTube. They're watching your platform and they're becoming invested in what you're saying. A lot of people on my end are like, I was watching and then I found out Zynga was Mo Rebuttal just commented. He said, I found out she was Orthodox. No wonder why she is based. So now you're exposing yourself to more people. We're planting more seeds. And I think that when you get out here, this could be clipped. And then not to mention this, but all these people are watching what you're saying. It's making a lot of rational sense right now. So trust me, you're doing a lot more than you even think you are.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. What I would just say, so I was just going to say, like, to answer the question, and you guys can maybe throw your 2 cents in or disagree with me, but I would say that even if a woman is not religious, or even if they're actually deliberately anti-Christ because they have some deal with Western religion and Christianity, I would say that their instinct is still to find Christian men. Truly godly men who understand their purpose and embrace it. I think it's probably like catnip to all women, everywhere, all through time.
They're not going to tell you, like, they're not going to outright say, oh, I just need this and that. They're going to tell you what sounds good and feels good. But in the end of this, when they have cats and they're all alone, they're whining, and wishing for that real good man that's Christ-like. And to me, I think that if you're looking at your Andrew Tates of the world and things like this, I think that Christ is the perfect emulation of this because he's fierce to the nth degree and he's also meek to the nth degree. If you could talk about two people, not just one person, but can emulate these two things and make it fit perfectly, I think that's the perfect form of masculinity that men need to bold. But they're bought into Ned Flanders in America because it's been bastardized by modern culture. I think that is stupid and asinine that Christianity and Christ has been warped so much to where the liberals are making fun of us. And I'm just like, no, we're making a comeback. Orthodoxy's rising. Our attendance rates are climbing. And all these wars in Venezuela that are going to pursue and all this, people are going to be running towards the hospital, which is the Church of Christ, not the Latter-day Saints, but the original apostolic, traditional Catholic Orthodox Church for sure.
Any thoughts? Yeah. It was an interesting discussion too, because I'm gonna play just a little bit more of this because Mark actually starts asking me about Christianity.
Oh yeah.
And I tell him, I'm like, you should hit us up for some reading materials or some YouTube suggestions. I don't know if he says it right here. I'll skip to it if I need to.
Let me ask you.
Well, everybody. Sorry, not you.
No, Carmen. I'm gonna tell you. So say that does a man ever achieve?
Thank
No,
you,
but not-
thank you, Mark. That's
No, but
exactly what it is.
You get married and then you go.
Okay, so
Let's see if I can
ambition.
find
She's
this.
not supposed to be the object of it.
exactly.
That point. And why they died, and which is the reason.
He sacrificed his entire existence and his ability to have progeny on him.
Go back.
To not be in the life of clergy.
About Mark Anthony and Zard or whatever. They
I'll be
died.
real quick on this point, but then I do have to go on these.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
When
Go
we
ahead.
when we talk about religious lifestyles, there's basically two ideals for men. There's either the life of clergy or monasticism, where a man takes sexual purity and makes his sole focus, something like hesychasm.
Monasticism. I need
He
to look
essentially
that
just
word up.
denies himself, right? And he focuses entirely on the spiritual development of the world around him, meaning that he sacrifices his entire existence and his ability to have progeny to uphold the pillars of the earth, right? This is why a lot of monks, especially in like the Eastern Orthodox,
I was saying that sounds like an Eastern Chinese, like, yeah.
Well, it's not. We're not like them. But the point is that if you look at the Bible, that's what most of these major characters were. Is they were essentially monastics before the term existed. You look at somebody like Elijah or somebody like Saint John the Forerunner. You know, all these great miracle workers of the Bible. God Himself in the form of Christ says, nobody's greater than John, right? And the guy walked around with weird clothes.
Who?
And he ate bugs. John the Baptist. St. John the Baptist. And so this was a guy who didn't have children. He didn't have a legacy, and his legacy was a spiritual one. It was what he accomplished with his ministry. And so if you are going to take that route, then your sole focus needs to be God and the spiritual development of others. The other option is to get married. And if you are going to get married, then your family needs to become your priority so that you develop your wife spiritually, your children spiritually, that you provide for their needs and you give them something for when you're gone, but you still have to maintain your community. You still have to maintain your spiritual life as well. And so you can't lose focus on that. And your family's supposed to support you in that endeavor. And so that's just what I mean by that. So I do have to go, you guys. So that's pretty much the end of it.
No, that's not the part. Yeah, you didn't play the part where he was begging you to stay and have the conversation.
Yeah, there's a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess there's a little more. Let me see.
Yeah.
The wife.
Yeah. Before you go, I just want to say it's been a pleasure to actually have this. Seriously, man, I think you brought so much to the table, man. You gave me so much to think about. I'm going to literally, when I watch through this video tomorrow, I'm going to literally focus on this last little bit that you just said, because I need to know and understand what you're talking about with like some of that terminology. John, I don't really know the Christian, like, because people like you always bring up these Christian terms, and you can always quote something from the Bible, and I find it like quite impressive. I'm like, oh wow, because that brings like light to the table that I don't fully understand. Like I don't understand the Bible in the same way that people like you do. Anyway, thank you.
I understand. I would look into Eastern Orthodoxy. Or just Orthodox Christianity. It's out there. There's a lot of material on YouTube that's really good. If you would DM Zinger or somebody like me, we can give you some specifics, maybe even some books to look into. But everybody, I do have to go now. So
he's not DMing me. I'll tell you that right now, because I'm very off-putting, but I do that on purpose because Mark's ideology must be crushed under the foothold of my ideology, my worldview. So, yeah.
Well, it just made me happy because any excuse for me to talk about Christianity with somebody who's curious is always kind of makes my day.
Well,
but
that's good. Yeah.
He hasn't DM'd me yet, so
yeah. But
I can't be found.
I can't be found.
the more interesting part about it is like this isn't even where it ends. Scott tried to leave maybe 2 or 3 times, and Mark kept bringing him back. Like, no, just tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And that's what I thought was interesting about the conversation. So this isn't even where it stops. He keeps begging them to stay and tell him more information.
Let me play it just for anonymous sake. Here.
All right, you take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right, go ahead.
Bang, bang, bang.
Shit like that.
Scott's Christmas pajama bottom.
And then there was
Oh no, that's the tag.
What?
How long has it been
Five
since
in
Foley
the
has said
bed,
anything?
and the little one said, "Roll over, roll over."
You know how long it's been since I heard that one?
I feel like
Oh,
Mark doesn't
man.
touch grass.
Now imagine you meet a guy on Hinge, and then you start talking the audio messages on iPhone, and that's how he talks.
That's
There
crazy.
you
That's
go.
how it was.
Oh wow.
Well, it's
See,
very
now that you
refreshing
mention-
and enlightening.
Now that you mention it, he does
That is
have a
good.
professional radio voice on some real shit.
He has a nice voice, right?
Yeah.
I know Andrew Wilson Jr. over here.
That's how he talked when we were talking before we
Right.
ever met face to face. So.
Mhm. And
Anyway.
see, Carmen, that entire exchange of you and Scott going back and forth is a perfect example of what can instantly make someone attractive without looks. Now let's pretend he's single, all of our cameras were off, and none of us knew what each other looked like.
Yeah, but Charles, mate, doesn't that feel a little bit patronising that you're telling Carmen to heed some kind of message from that interaction there when she's got a perfectly good, solid relationship going on?
I think if,
That doesn't mean
if
anything.
one of the cameras turned off, I would not.
No, Marky.
I disagree with every single thing that he said.
Of course you would.
Everything he said.
She would disagree with anybody saying anything. Matter of fact, if we did take like the visuals away from everybody else on the panel, I guarantee you, like I'm gonna close my mind and like go with me to this dream world of like nobody can see anything, but you hear Mark Fowler, you'd all of a sudden get this picture of Mr. Bean offering you beans on toast on a first date. Just think about how attractive this would be to the first woman as he's telling you about choo-choo trains and how he loves them on the first date. Like it's like just imagine that. Like, how erotic would that be to like the normal laywoman in the streets of the UK? This is crazy. This is insane.
That's funny. That's funny.
It's true.
Oh man.
Well, you couldn't be attracted to Coley because he didn't say anything.
That's my point, Anonymous. You could have brought him up. If you would say, like, do you have any input? Nope, not at one time. I was waiting for that because you had said, no, that's what I do. Well, you know.
Coley said, he's got a great voice.
Don't let me hold your feet in the fire.
Wait. But to be fair, I'm assuming that the purpose of this review was to highlight the conversation where Scott was brought into it.
I'm also going to hire.
Okay.
I'm also going to exploit the fact that people aren't contributing as well too. I'm going to point everything out. It's a review, right?
No. I understand. I understand that 100%. I understand that 100%. Because the thing with me is, I understand when I need to speak on things and when I need to just kind of fall back. Because even though I'm hosting the show and I'm kind of running things, at the same time, I know how to just fall back and let things flow versus trying to micromanage everything. So I do understand exactly where you're coming from. Yeah, there's certain instances where a person needs to get drawn into the conversation, but when it's certain topics where I can clearly see that there's some sort of chemistry going on, I don't necessarily like to interfere with that.
Yeah, but there were.
I will say this too, like
there were times when there wasn't any chemistry going on, and he wasn't offering anything too. So let's just point out.
No, but I mean, like Marte, though, there are times like where you're sitting on a panel and it's like these two are just having a great, interesting interaction, or maybe they're just going at it like rabid dogs, and it's like inserting your 2 cents at that point just doesn't really feel appropriate. So I would say, like, I don't know, maybe Coley was just thinking, like, I don't really have anything to offer this, and this is really interesting. And sometimes you just pipe down. You know what I mean?
Just also notice
I wasn't there. I wasn't there earlier. I don't
Maybe
know if
he
we talked
didn't
a lot
also
more.
have anything to offer to the conversation too, because that's also a possibility. Let's just be real. You guys are both really
his
generous.
body language looked like he
yeah.
agreed with Scott.
Yeah.
His body language looked like he agreed with Scott. So there's that.
His body
He was
language
like,
looks like he agrees with the sub sandwich. I mean, but that doesn't really mean too much to me, anyways. I'm just saying. Let's be real here, bro.
But Marte, to be fair, there's been times where you've been on my panel and you and Mark have been going back and forth at it for quite a while, and I just sit back and let it happen.
Oh yeah, because of course it's like fire and water. You put us on a panel, and I'm going to be the antagonist for sure. That's going to happen.
Right.
But like, let's say me and Mark aren't going back and forth. Are these people going to step in and say, "Hey, this is my opportunity"? Nope, not gonna happen. Like, bro.
I let that be on the person though. I let that be on the person.
Yeah,
now,
but it
now
just magnifies.
I'll
like,
be honest. Right. I'll be honest. There are times where I'm kind of thinking, you know what? Let me see if I could pull somebody to kind of instigate something a little bit.
There we go. Here we go.
Stir the pot a little bit. Stir the pot a little bit.
Hey, if I'm going to let you eat up this time, let's see if you can contribute a little bit to the channel. Yeah.
Right. So so that's why
chaotic truth approach. Just get the Jerry Springer effect.
Well, yeah, that's why I went at a certain point in the exchange between Carmen and Scott. I offered up an analogy to help her understand a lot better of how things are with how men think and how we all operate when it comes to focusing on our purpose and things like that. That's why I had brought in the chess analogy to try to help her understand that the purpose of the game is not about protecting the queen.
Yeah, but I don't think you really needed to explain it to her. I think she was just being obtuse.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to give additional context to help drive the point home.
I disagree on that.
Right.
Well, there's a difference between when you give context and then when Mark gives context. You're not coming in to save her. You're coming in to clarify things. When Mark comes in, he's like, "I got this, me lady. I'm going to save you from the really bad patriarch over here." That's what Mark does. Let's be honest.
Well, like women like me and Carmen who are going to show up on stuff like this, you kind of gird your loins. Like someone may disagree with you and you're going to have to defend yourself and your worldview. And women like me and Carmen, we really shouldn't need someone to do that, like unless they actually agree with the point we're making. But I think Mark thinks that we will like it, but really it kind of gives you the ick. Like I remember the first few times I was on a panel, I was just kind of like, okay, I see what Mark is saying now. It's kind of icky, and I wish he would stop and just kind of be a little bit more honest about what he thinks, because I'm not sure if he's being totally honest either, or if he's just trying to get the girls on the panel to think he's sweet.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into what Marte was saying about the whole white knight thing, because like I've noticed this too. I mean, I don't like, we make jokes about it. Like me, Coley, and maybe Tizzle, we've made jokes about him doing that because like if I bring different women on the panel, he'll try to do like this whole, I guess, like I'm a nice guy, I'm gonna try to charm my way into getting you to like me type of thing, trying to get validation. And it's funny because I'll catch on to it, Coley will catch on to it, and maybe Tizzle will catch on to it, and we're just sitting there looking at each other like, yeah, we see what's going on, and we're just making jokes the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy because whenever you see these people on the panel, Mark does contribute, whether or not you believe so or not, because Mark serves a purpose, and this is the purpose that I'll tell you. If there was just base patriarchy everywhere, nobody would notice the difference and people would be like, yeah, so what? There's air. Everybody knows that. But because we have Mark on the panel, we now can show the people who are fence sitters, lukewarm people at home to say, hey, you're sitting on the fence right now. You need to make a decision. You can either be on Mark's side or my side or Scott's side and then choose a more base position. Now, I think that when we have this dichotomy that's presented, I think now people can make more informative decisions while being entertained, because maybe I'm dunking on this guy the whole time and this is happening. I think this is extremely important. I think that absent anything like clarity or anybody else to deleting a fence, you now have to be on one side. You can't be lukewarm or anybody that's a fence sitter. And that's the biggest thing that I've had with Mark the whole time is like, I've called him a chameleon, I've called him a fence sitter, called him lukewarm, and then he's asserted that he wasn't. Meanwhile, the whole time he can't pick a damn side, but he will pick the side of a woman who's a damsel in distress. I need to be saved. I need a man to step forward for me. This is the guy that's going to get Punani the month of February. And that's what's going to happen the whole time. If he pursues this agenda, that is a losing task for him to do this. And there's going to be no rewards he's going to reap for doing this. I think that he needs to pattern the behaviors of, I'm not saying exactly like Scott or me, people like that, but I think he needs to start leaning and picking a side that's consistent instead of flip-flopping when a damsel shows up.
I'll tell you this, Mark, if you ever see this, I want you to...
Who's Mark? Oh, him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If Mark sees this, Mark, send us your contact info on the slide. We'll get you that material. We'll get you something to look at. We'll get you some interesting things to look into. It'll change your life, my man.
Well, I actually do talk on my streams, But I thought it would be better to let the guys have most of the conversation, considering the topic. And I think it's a really big mistake for women to step in and think that they know men and then tell men what men are. Like if we're talking amongst ourselves as women and we're like, oh, men are more like this. And like that, I think that's okay. Or it can be depending on how you're talking about men. But to just look at a man and say, a man is this, a man is that, and you should be, I think that's a really huge mistake. And so as soon as she started going into what she thought men are supposed to be, I'm like, oh man, she's already messed up, because it's going to be totally wrong, because men observe women in a way that we don't observe them. And so we think we know, because maybe like we've only dated assholes all our life, so we know all men are assholes. And it's like, that's not the case. You're using your emotions to say what men are, and you're using your selfishness to say what men should do and what their duties are. So
yeah,
I kind of wanted to sit back and let the guys talk tonight.
I agree, because I think that something that she's at least consistent with doing is like she puts men in this monolithic statement every time that I have a conversation with her. And then not to mention this, but she functions in this land of ambiguity. She can never tell you what exactly the duties of men are. It's just that this is all they're good for. And that's all I hear. It's like there's nothing in reference to duties that serve society, just me. So when we think about this, it's like a very selfish, materialistic worldview, and she puts men into these boxes. And I think that's wrought with abuse. And we can reiterate this language that she says and spread it all over society. Now we live in a matriarchy. If it was up to her to do this, that's why I think it's really bad. I'm not going to assume anything, but women like this run relationships. They just turn men into these children that they resent the whole time, and that's what they're really doing. And to go back on what Scott was saying, man-child, he's totally accurate about this. Men are children if you let these women dominate you and lord over you. That's what's going to happen, and you're going to turn her into a mother that resents a child. And guess what's going to happen? That relationship's not going to last. You're going to get your house taken and everything else if you're married. And if you're not, maybe you dodged a bullet. But anyways, I think that when men run relationships, instead of women saying, well, you know, I like it when you lead, but not like that, though. I don't want you to lead like this is her being the leader instead. And I think that, hold on real quick, my light just went out. I have like this huge, massive screen in front of me. So anyways, I put it on this light channel. But yeah, I think that men should run things. I think that we're better equipped to run things because it's backed by force. And when women don't have anything to support this ideology because they can't protect it or maintain it or retain things because they'll get stolen, conquered, or whatever, I think that's just generally how society's kept in shape. Not to use a fitness, reference, but it's true. I think that a society that's in shape is healthy, and I think in order for it to be healthy, it can't be run by blue-haired, nostril piercing women. And I think that this rhetoric is bad. The pendulum's going to swing the other way, and I'm waiting for it to do that eventually.
She was saying that pretty much that women run the world behind the scenes is kind of what she was saying. And it's like, well, you also complain about the world. You complain about everything that goes on. You complain about the country. This is wrong, that's wrong, and that's why women should be doing. And you're like, well, if women are running things, then it's crap. Is it not? Everything's in chaos and upside down and topsy-turvy. And it's partly because men have allowed women to run things. And if you're talking about just America, and so even the men that are in charge, they do it in a feminine way. And it's like, well, it creates chaos. And I agree with Jordan Peterson when he talks about femininity brings chaos and masculinity brings order. And so it's like, well, it hasn't been working, Carmen. So doesn't that tell you that we're doing something wrong? If it is the case that women are running things and pulling men by the balls, then maybe we should do something to change that, because the world is really upside down and crazy right now.
You could have brought up the dichotomy of like, isn't it strange how Christ showed up in a man as a form of a man, body of a man and all this? He could have showed up as a woman, right? But how come that is? And how come when we talk about God, they say he? You know, we always use this, you know, language that's specific as far as like sex and gender, things like this. Even the people who are like ambiguous, you can't be ambiguous when we talk about sex, because I think that Christ showing up as a man tells you all you need to know. But if you're talking about a referent for a woman example, like we could talk about the Theotokos, but these are things that we need to talk about outwardly as far as the representative, because we have Andrew Tate. Well, we have Christ. Well, who's the woman? That would be the Theotokos. And I think that the more we talk about this with laymen, I think that this would help a little bit too. Even if we could sprinkle it in discussions sparingly, I think it'll all be good, man. If we could find a way to kind of weave it into the conversation that makes sense and not make it sound forced, I think that's all good.
Yeah, like if Carmen is right, wouldn't it have been more wise for God to send a woman as himself? Because if a man can be drug around by a bunch of women by his balls because he's just looking for sex, and it would have been really hard for Jesus to do what he came here to do. But a woman would have been better because she's controlled by nobody. And doesn't make any sense.
And notice how Christ wasn't being drugged around by no woman. That never happened. Like, he even told the woman at the well, you're a woman of many husbands. Like, it's like, bro, you're calling people hoes automatically at the well. But she found her salvation in the like, I would say that she got roasted big time, but at the same time, it's like there was salvation there. There's a purpose for that. I think that if he would lie to her and did the Mark thing and showed up at the well and said, you know what, it's okay, you can have all these men, like that would never have panned out pretty good. And the messaging passed down through generations wouldn't help anybody.
You're beautiful.
Yeah, that's what Mark would have said at the well. Oh, it doesn't matter how many women you have. You're still beautiful, no matter what.
You have to add, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Mark would have told at the well his own way.
But see, one thing that was interesting about the conversation, and I hate that Scott and Zinga had to leave. One thing that I noticed as the conversation went on, Carmen was trying to defend whatever her position was, and it was falling apart the whole time. But one thing that I noticed is that I don't think she really believes the things that she was saying. She doesn't believe it. And the reason
neither do I.
Yeah, well, she doesn't. And this is why I say I wish that you guys didn't have to leave as early as you could. But I mean, I understand you got family stuff and you know, you got a household to run. I get it. But if you guys had to stay till the end of the show, on all of my panels, I always get everyone's thoughts about how the show went. I always get final thoughts on the show. How was the show for you? Did you hate it, love it? Like what were your thoughts on how the show went? And you know what Carmen said? She said she loved the show, but more importantly, what she said, I think she was speaking specifically to me and Scott. She said, you know what? I like that the way you have the show is where we can throw our perspectives out. But even if we disagree, I like that you guys don't just change up your position. I like that you stand your ground, and I like that you push back. I like that you stand your ground. And she goes, I respect that you guys can stand on your square and back up your arguments and not just give over just because I say something.
But you see how what she said like proves everything we were saying correctly. Basically, what Carmen was saying is, I like it how you don't let a woman lead you. Like, I like it. Like, you see the hidden axiom that she embeds there, Scott. That's basically what she's saying. Is she says she likes everything that she didn't say in the end, which is so crazy.
Exactly. And if
you know what I want to do?
Yeah, go ahead.
So stupid.
You know what I think would be hilarious is if we could get like a body language expert just to sit quietly and watch the panel. And then every time I start like talking about dominance and patriarchy and, you know, Christ-led life from a man's perspective, and I'm talking to a woman, I want them to like assess after the fact, like, here she's showing instant attraction.
Hey, but Scott, you know what's funny though? What's funny is that even though I'm the host of the show, I still have the responsibility of paying attention to cues and, you know, how people are responding to the things that are being said. So I know when and how to interject and say certain things, right? And what I noticed with Carmen is whenever certain things are being said and I can see that it's making her feel a certain way or it's getting some thoughts flowing in her head, I'll blow her up. No, I do. I'll blow her up on the big screen so people can see how she, like, her facial expressions and how she's responding to the information that she's taking in. Because one thing I notice about how men and women operate is that we process information two completely different ways, right? So when men hear information, the first thing that goes through our mind is, does this make sense or not? But then when women hear information, the first thing that goes through their head is, how do I feel about what I'm being told? You see
That's
what I'm
true.
saying? Right.
Yeah.
So throughout the course of the conversation, when Carmen was trying to push this narrative that a man's purpose is a woman, Scott and I were both standing 10 toes down, like, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. Nope, absolutely not. Oh no, but it is. But nope, no, it's not. No, it's not. And every time that I'm backing up Scott and saying this, I can see it's almost like she had this frustrated look on her face, like, man, why are they not agreeing with me? Why are they not just letting me have it? Why are they telling me something that goes against what I think things should be? Like, you can really see it. You can really see you can see it's like she had this squirming kind of, like this kind of squirming sensation, like, man, they're trying to box me in a corner. Like they're trying to box me in. Let me just say something to deter them, so that way they can let up the heat off of me. And another thing that's interesting too is, if you continue to watch the show, I'll start calling out some of Carmen's behavior, because when Scott called her out for being obtuse and trying to make bad faith arguments and just being disingenuous for the sake of being disingenuous, what she was doing was she was trying to derail the conversation, because she was realizing that she was losing the debate and she didn't want to just concede. Now with me, she'll do it from time to time. She'll admit, okay, yeah, you got a point, and then she'll stop. But for some odd reason, when it's like I bring other men on that think kind of similar to how I do, and that really stand on some solid grounding and principles, it's almost like she's not used to it. So her initial reaction is to just fight back. But then if you just hammer it on a little bit longer, eventually she'll fold, and she has no choice but to concede, because she starts to realize that her emotions don't take the argument as far as logic does.
Well,
yeah, that's interesting.
The conservative men come over, the base men come over and take their toys away from them. And what happens is you all of a sudden see the 6-year-old throw a tantrum. And I'm not like I know I'm conflating like kids and women together, but I mean, how could I not, to some degree, because the father has to give the daughter away to the other man, saying, hey, you're now going to be the caretaker of my old duties, kind of like a daughter. So it's like we have semblances of this, an example of this in public. So when we see your Carmen's on panels and things like that, when the men come in and say no, it's almost like physical assault whenever you tell a woman no in maternity. But at the same time, I think it's also healthy, because I think we're preventing women from becoming implicit in their own destruction. And when this happens, it's like the woman saying, you mean I can't delete myself? Oh, darn, you're telling me I can't wreck my life? Yes, we're telling you can't wreck your life. And sometimes literally we're telling women to do this, and not those exact words, but this is what we're doing in society. But I think if we have more men step up and anti-mark our way with women, I think we're headed in a good direction.
It's interesting too, because, you know, like I said before, a lot of the things I say I think are boring, but I can appreciate from like a rhetorical perspective that the way I say things, the sort of flatness and the authoritative way that I say it, where I just kind of spit it out, and I don't have to beat around the bush or couch things in cute euphemisms or soften it up for women. I just tell them straight up. I'm like, you'd be sex slaves if we decided to be bad, period.
Best way to say it.
Right. Because it's just, because it's just true. And I also don't have to feel bad about it, because it's not what we're planning. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like all of us are like secretly meeting to take over the world and turn all the women into sex slaves. Like, so for me, it's very easy to say this stuff in a dismissive way. But I also can appreciate that a lot of guys aren't comfortable doing that. You know, like I see some of the reactions from sort of the bystanders to some of the discussions that I have, even in my personal life. And they're making the same, like, you know, like when I say stuff, or they'll be like bending over and like trying to hold their laughter in. And because you can tell they don't do that. They do not want that fight. They don't want the smoke. They usually will couch things in euphemisms and pretty things up for women, or they'll change the topic or just avoid that. Where the women, like Zeke can back me up on this, because it's happened in front of her, where women will push me on some issue and I'll just not in a mean way, but just in a matter of fact way, be like, no, that's not true. And here's why. And they'll just be like aghast. And the people watching will just be like, I'm going to go to this other room now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. I was going to say, because their boyfriends and husbands agree, probably. The boyfriend's like, suddenly I have to use the restroom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, too, this is something that women do to each other when, not all of us, but a lot of women, most women, I say, will do this to each other when you're having a disagreement. So if a bunch of women were having that discussion, and let's say there was one there that would have agreed with what Scott said, it would have been like, well, if that works for your relationship, that's fine. Like, but I think like for most of us, that's not how things really like work. I think like most of the time, but if that works for you, that's totally great. And y'all were just like, nah, because men have started to do that too, where they kind of like give the other person an out in an argument, especially about a moral issue. And I think that was a moral, what she said was immoral. And so I was like, I appreciated that y'all didn't do that thing where you bailed her out and said, well, you know, if your man likes that being pulled by the balls, and I guess that's fine. Because it's like, well, that's not our design. That's not our design. And you're creating chaos in your home if you're doing that, you know? I think that's why Mark annoys you guys a lot, because he would do something like that.
yeah, you know what? Actually, that made me think of something kind of funny. If I had to give any advice to take away from this to like a Gen Z guy who's like learning to kind of assert himself and to talk to women in an assertive manner, making his declarations clear, making his positions clear, being firm, I would say, I wouldn't say embrace saying no. I would embrace saying nah. N-A-H. With that dismissive little hang on the extra syllable there. It's kind of like when women bring up this stuff and they say this nonsense and they start talking about feminism and they're like, well, what do you think? Do you agree? And they're like, nah. It's got to have that dismissive Bugs Bunny kind of personality to it, you know?
No, you know what? Yeah. You know what? It's interesting. You said I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. That was all I said.
The thing that's interesting about you saying that is I'm thinking back to when I've heard people say nonsense on my panel, and I kind of do that.
Nah.
Because I'm not really in the business of telling people that they're right or wrong unless it's something that they're blatantly wrong about. What I'll do is I'll ask a lot of questions from about a person's perspective, because I'm just trying to understand, okay, what was the thought process that led you to this conclusion? You see what I'm saying? So even if I say something, I could possibly be wrong, because there's been times, like Marte said earlier, where he and I have gone back and forth about something, but I've never really told him that, no, you're just wrong. I've never really done that. And I don't think I really do that to anybody on my panels. And even in my personal life, if I find myself debating something or like an idea, I don't really go about telling people that they're right or wrong.
I would, because I'll say this is why that's wrong.
We do.
Let me explain, or I'll say, let me demonstrate you why this is wrong. Like I'll literally tell people that. So I do that.
No, I get what you're saying, but I guess for me personally, it's just I'm so much of a conversationalist, and I enjoy communicating.
Well,
So
I mean, kind of the
also
content.
being a conversationalist too, by saying, "Hey, let me demonstrate why you're wrong, and this is why I feel like you're wrong," and I'll go into it, like, or whatever.
Yeah, Anonymous, I think if you have a justification outside of your opinion of why something's wrong, I think you should start telling more people they're wrong.
But if you tell them they're wrong, but you can't demonstrate it or show justification, I think that's what you're talking about. That's where you're not making a conversation. You're making an absolute. But if I could say, Anonymous, this is why bravery in this isn't the same thing. And let me explain to you why. I'll give you a hypothetical. I'll give you a conversation. And then not only that, but we've developed this whole diorama of conversation about why courage and bravery and confidence and bravery are not the same thing. You know, things like that. So,
you know what's funny about that? Nah, look, what's funny about that?
Rehashing old shit, but go ahead.
No, look, check this out. What's funny is that you said all that, right? But if you literally look it up, all those words are synonyms.
Yeah, but you know, definitions are not an absolute, right? That throws your whole definition out of the woodwork.
Depending on the context.
Yeah, gay used to mean happy. Does it mean happy anymore? Right. So definitions are not an absolute. You can throw that out.
Right, but there's more than one form of context.
Correct. So, but nobody's going to say, well, he was so brave, he went to the casino and blew $5 million. The fuck? He's confident. He was confident about this. He's confident about taking L's, but he's not breaking.
No,
he's gonna tell you that.
Right. but what? Well, watch this. That was a brave, that was a bold, and that was a courageous move. However, it didn't yield the results that you thought you were going to get.
I would never say somebody's like courageous for going to the casino and blowing their life savings. I would never say, they're courageous.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
The results make it foolish. The
Right,
results, I think, make it foolish or brave or courageous.
Right. So no, I understand exactly where he's coming from. I understand exactly where he's coming from. It's
results and motives. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. It's just there's always extra context and nuance and stuff like that. So that's why I didn't necessarily tell you that you were wrong about what you were saying, because I wanted to hear you out more to see, okay, well, how did he come to that? Like, how did he come to that?
I mean, I wasn't wrong, but I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say this for your show format, Anonymous.
Pull it up right now, prove me wrong.
I'll say this about, because we're not going to rehash this debate.
Yeah, it's dead. Nail in the coffin. Yeah, it's
that one's done.
I agree.
But I'll say this about Anonymous's show format is that from an entertainer's perspective, it kind of makes sense to have a kind of seemingly objective position so that you can pull in people from different points of view. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is you're gonna ossify a certain type of audience. You know what I mean? Like, regardless,
right?
Just because whoever ends up being the most entertaining guest that you have on most frequently, that your audience is going to be looking for, they're going to kind of shape the political and socioeconomic and the gender paradigm of your show. So, you know, if you had a bunch of people like Z on there, you might get a more younger, certain type of audience.
Lots of men.
Yes, lots of middle-aged Republican men who have a crush on black women. But like, but then if you pull in a bunch of people like Carmen, you might get a more feminized audience. You know, maybe a little bit more liberal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You pull Mark, you're gonna definitely get a feminized audience.
But like, there's no true objectivity, man. So it's like, I get it from like if you're just trying to be like, why don't you just tell me what you think about things and kind of do the talk show thing, you know, like the Larry King, where it's like, oh, that's a very controversial opinion. And then you just ask him another question that has nothing to do with the previous question.
Right. Well, because
the way you can do.
Right. Well, because the way I do it is I give everybody space to give their perspective on a question, and then I give mine last, because I don't want the way I think to influence other people's opinions about something. I want them to give their own authentic thoughts about something, because I'm a big believer in independent thought. I don't want to have an echo chamber. I don't want to have all that. I want to give people a space to share their honest perspective. Don't say what you think I'll agree with or what you think I want to hear. No, tell me what you really think. And if it doesn't make sense, I'll ask a couple questions about it. And then once I get everybody else's perspectives on something, then I'll speak to what I think about something.
That's fair. And speaking of what you think about something, we didn't really get your thesis yet, you know, like based on the prompt of this particular show, you know, what do you think gives men power over women? What makes them so attractive that they are willing to give men power over them?
The fact that there's not really much they can do to try to take it from us. We have to give it to them.
Okay.
They try everything that they can to try to take power from men, but they exhaust themselves trying to do so. That's why they hate logic so much.
I don't think that really answers the question, though.
I was going to say, are you saying that men had the power to begin with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't really answer the question, because when he asked you, he said, what do you think makes women attractive? Well, it's because they can't have power. It's like, well, I don't really think that. Objectively true.
He said, what do I think makes women attracted to men with power? And I said, because they can't just take it from you. Because women are always chasing something that they can't have. That's why a lot of times when you listen to their standards, it's unrealistic. They want this thing. They're steadily chasing this thing where you can tell them a million times, hey, you're not going to be able to find this. For some reason in their head, they're like, I'll still get it anyway. And then once they get it, it's like, okay, I got this. Man, I could probably do better.
No, I don't think that that's what it is. I think the thing is that we're drawn to what's at the finish line, but we don't want to do the running to get it. Because here's the thing, though. We love a Mercedes. I actually own a Mercedes-Benz, too. But here's the thing, though. We love Mercedes-Benz and all these other cars. Bentley doesn't even have a commercial out, but people want it. But nobody ever realizes the work that you have to do to get there, because that's not romantic. It doesn't make the highlight reel. None of this does. So I think what it does is people like the finished product. It's not the fact that it has power or any of this other stuff.
Right.
They just like the end result and they want to insert themselves in it. But what they do is they miss out and they omit the parts to where it's like, you have to be a good steward of the word. You have to be a good mother. You have to be a good matron and all this. It's like, no, let me skip to the end, because that's what's attractive, is like the materialism. And I think we're run by materialism in this world. And I think ultimately that's really what's attractive, which deletes her comment that she made about emotions being the attractor initially in the relationship. No, she just likes the finalization of everything. She loves outcomes. So when she looks at this, she has a utilitarian worldview of men as she does in outcomes. So it's like, you can't divorce this and then all of a sudden say, well, no, it's emotion. Look, you're taking away all the work out of this. You just want the prize without all the work. And that's really what it is. They want the prize. They don't want the work because it's attractive. Just a visualization of this, and they're just materialistic on its face. Most of them.
Yeah, women have an issue. A lot of women have an issue with, they think they automatically deserve everything because they were born. And so when they say they want this and that, they're like, oh, but I deserve that. So when you ask them why, like I used to binge watch Kevin Samuels videos because I thought they were hilarious. But he would ask women why. He would ask them what they weighed. He'd ask them their height. And it's like, you don't deserve any of that. You've made all these terrible decisions. And now you want a great guy that hasn't made terrible decisions. And it just doesn't always work that way. And women think that like some miracle is going to happen because they deserve it. And so I think that's part of the problem as well.
So I have a question for you, Anonymous.
Yeah,
you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, because I'll be at the behest of my own same question. If I ask you this, it means that I can be asked this as well too. What are you doing right now? I don't propose to know what your dating life is or anything like that. What are you doing right now to like level up? Are you looking at duty? Are you looking at how you're conducting your, like, what does that look like in the day of life? Because if we're having all these podcasts about, you know, what we think men should be in society and all this, how does your walk look right now? Because I don't think anybody's ever asked you that. Like, if you're on the dating market, you could say, yes, I'm single and this is what I plan on doing. These are the steps that I'm making. Can I hear a little bit more about that? Because I'm pretty sure my audience would like to hear something about that.
Well, I've talked about my daily life on different shows before. So basically, I like to work 5 to 6 days a week. I try to be in the gym 5 to 6 days a week. If I'm not working on some music stuff, I'm working on editing, like doing video editing and getting stuff ready for the shows and stuff like that. So I like to stay busy. Now, as far as my dating life is concerned, I'm not really putting too much stake and priority on that, because I look at it like I need to prepare myself and do a lot of work on myself, not just internally, mentally, spiritually, and all that type of stuff. But I need to make sure that I maintain a certain type of mindset and just maintaining specific types of habits that are going to get me to the results that I want, as far as like growing my stock portfolio, building up my trading accounts and stuff like that. And making sure I have a lot of systems in place that are working for me. So that way, if I decide that I want to prioritize a family and make sure I start looking for a good quality wife that has certain traits, that way I already have a solid foundation in place. That way I can make space to dedicate time and energy to this.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions, because there's a reason why I asked that. That's an addendum to these next 2 questions. The 2 questions I want to ask you, Anonymous, is like, do you have a deadline? Because women say this all the time. I'm telling you, I hear this from women all the time. Well, I need to do me right now. It needs to take time. It'll happen when it happens. And it's like, you know, I understand men could have time for this, but women have a clock. They're literally fighting a clock, which men don't really. We're not the behest of this clock. Do you have like a due date for this? Is like or a date or whatever? And then here's the thing. Do you have an outcome at the end of this? Do you look at marriage? Do you want to get married at some time in the future? Or how's that looking? Kids, maybe? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to set deadlines for certain things, because I understand that I'm not going to get to where I want to be in a quick amount of time. I understand it takes little steps and, you know, planning the little steps to get me there one step at a time. Now, as far as like my longer term goal, as far as the family is concerned, I do want kids. I actually want 4. Lord willing, I have my 2 sons first, and I have my 2 daughters later.
Wow, you sound like that. This is some CRISPR program, and you already are gonna know, like, oh, 2 boys first, and I could, So I know men with 4 girls, and they tried for boys. Things like that happen. But Lord willing, I would say maybe
that's why I said Lord willing, because the way I envision setting up a household as far as the family is concerned, I want to be able to have a good harmonious relationship with the mother that's going to be of my children, who's going to be my future wife, because I don't believe in having children out of wedlock. That's why I'm 37 with no kids. So I made that a very strict standard for myself to make sure that I do not have children outside of marriage. I just cannot do it. Because I look at it like this. If I'm going to have children with a woman, there's a lot of planning and conversation that has to be had, because I need to make sure that this woman has the right type of mindset, the right type of values and things like that, to where she can fit into what I'm ultimately trying to build. So that way, once we bring kids into the picture, there's already going to be a steady flow of how the relationship is going to go. So that way, once my sons come in, Lord willing, I have my 2 boys first. Once they come into the picture, they'll already see the dynamics of how a relationship is supposed to be, but then I'll be able to coach them up and guide them and break down any sorts of questions that they have. And so what I really want to do as far as my future family is concerned, I want to raise my sons and my daughters on very solid traditional values. I want to be able to give my kids everything that they need, but at the same time, I'm going to be coaching them up and raising them up to be able to get the things that they want, because I understand that my time on this earth is limited and I'm not going to be here forever. So when it comes to me having a family, it's almost like that's when the shot clock starts for me.
So when you have kids, does the plushie come off the wall and come into the kid's hands? They can be able to play with that doll.
You're talking about yeah.
You already ready for kids? You got the plushie on the wall. Like, it looks like you got the funhouse decorations on the wall. No, I'm just playing this, but still, I think that if you're base, and I think that if you could move, I don't propose to know where your journey in theosis is, but I think if you have Christ at the center of your relationship, it's definitely going to go well, man. So,
I absolutely do. Absolutely do. See, I'm not an Orthodox Christian. I'm a non-denominational Christian. But the thing of it is
also you're a heretic. No, I'm saying okay.
Nah. So my journey with God started when I was a kid. Like, I didn't have anybody convince me of doing certain things. I made a conscious choice to get baptized when I was about 10 years old. I think I still have my certificate of baptism. I got baptized on September 10th of 1998. So that was 4 days after I turned 10. And so throughout the course of my life, I've made bad choices. I've made good choices. I've learned things and I've experienced a lot of things. But when I was younger, I used to think in a lot of worldly ways, as far as like wanting what I seen other people have, as far as like what celebrities have, like the fame, the status, and the money. And I used to think I wanted those things, but then I started having deep conversations within myself when I was younger. And I started asking myself questions that I didn't necessarily have answers for. Like, okay, if I were to have these things, how would I maintain it? And so I started just digging deeper into what I was really thinking and why, and asking myself, like, why do I want certain things? Why do I want this? Why do I want that? Do I think I deserve it? Do I have what it takes to put in the work to get to it? Not only that, but do I have the understanding of it to be able to manage it effectively and maintain it? Right. And so since I couldn't answer these questions within myself, I made a conscious decision and I prayed and I asked God to give me the same wisdom that he gave Solomon.
Okay.
And so I really started looking at things from a more logical perspective, because I'm like, you know what? If I expect certain outcomes, I need to have a good level of understanding before I start making decisions and learning as I go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But I do have a question. One of my chatters asked this. He says, ask Anonymous if he wants to try hosting debates. Try this out in moderation. He says, I'll debate anybody that he wants, any subject within reason, and represent the base side. He's wondering if you can moderate and host debates eventually in the future.
Yeah,
sometime.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm open to that. Yeah, I'm open to it.
All right. That was Mo Rebuttal asking that. So you heard what he said. So
Oh, that was Mo?
Yeah, it was Mo.
Yeah. He pulled up last night.
Yeah, I actually had a debate with Mo. It was actually one of the most entertaining debates that I've had where I agree with the person and respect their position. So, you know.
What was the debate prompt?
Is the red pill harming men? And I was defending the red pill. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a good debate. It was like no bad blood, nothing personal as usual. But it's like I respect the man at the end of the day, and we shook hands. I can't hate the guy, man. The guy's a good man. So.
No, but as far as like the questions you're asking, yeah, I've given a lot of deep thought to how I want things to be, and I understand that in order for the outcomes to take place, there's a lot of work that has to be done on the front end to where things on the back end can flow a lot smoother because I did most of the bulk of the work on the front end. So what I really want and what I really desire is having a very solid and strong family structure. 2-parent household. I'm married to my wife and we're raising our kids and we're going through this thing called life together. Now, I want to be able to raise my sons with strong masculine principles because I understand that the world is lacking in the masculinity department from a societal standpoint. Now, I can't sit here and say that every man is not masculine and every man is not feminine. I can't say that. But what I can do as far as my contribution to society is making sure that I'm maintaining a certain type of mindset and I'm showing up every day, whether I feel like it or not. Like, as a matter of fact, once I get off of here, I got to get ready to go to sleep because I got to get up and hit the gym in the morning. So I have alarms and stuff set on my phone to where I can keep myself accountable and be strict with what I have going on.
Damn. That could just mean like, you know, maybe you're sedated so well that you need all those when actually a base man could just need one to get up. But, you know, because there's an argument on both sides. That knife cuts both sides, right? So.
Well, I have it set up like this to where everything is kind of streamlined to where it just flows a certain way. Like right now, my phone is in sleep and do not disturb mode. So I'm not getting bothered by calls and text messages. So once I get off of here and go and lay down and put my phone on the charger, I just go to sleep and I'm out.
That's my only thing. Is like, what if you have an emergency? Something's dire. Oh, I'll get it tomorrow. It's like, what? I always think about that because not to like look. I'm kind of feel like I'm like brigading Harris's channel right now. But here's the thing, though. The reason why I bring phones everywhere with me is because, like, there's an instructor. I go to diesel mechanic school right now, and he didn't bring his phone to school, but he got hit on the way to school one time, and he couldn't call the police, couldn't call for assistance, and the person actually hit him and took off. Now he's stranded, doesn't have a phone. So I think there's utility in this, and I think just showing restraint and discipline and saying, you know what, I heard it buzz, but I'm just going to ignore it, works just as well as, like, silencing your phone.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I know you're in diesel mechanic school. Yeah, I know that you're in diesel mechanic school because I've seen some of the reels and the pictures that you were posting. I see you putting in that work. I see you putting in that work.
The Harrises are trying to be based right now to get back to their base traditional family right now. Suki, as she would say.
So I just want to say thank you guys so much for chiming in. We appreciate your input. Made it a lot more fun. And let's do this again sometime, but we are going to be hitting the 3-hour mark here. So we're going to wrap it and let you guys do your thing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on your collective audiences. Thanks for those that popped in to give us a like. We appreciate that.
Hit like on Zynga Harris. Everybody that's following me, hit like on Zynga Harris's or in Scott Harris's video right now in their channel. Please go do that right now. Show some support.
There you go.
Yeah, let's do this again sometime, fellas.
Sounds good.
Definitely
I
open
appreciate
to it.
both of y'all.
Talk to you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Christ
absolutely.
is God.
Oh yeah. And just real quick, YouTube, fair
Oh yeah,
use.
plug your stuff.
Fair use YouTube. Don't hit them with no copyright for reviewing the content. I give them fair use privileges. Just putting that out there.
You guys can find me. I'm the host of On the Edge. I have a debate coming up. What is it? Tuesday, and the prompt will be racist people do not exist. It's not a troll. I'm not funding it. Yes, this guy is really idiotic and trying to defend this. And then the following week, you guys can tune in to the debate on Tuesday. I'll be defending why people should marry their first cousins against a devout Muslim named Manar, otherwise known as Manur. I know I'm engaged in some pretty damn crazy moderated debates, but this is going to be exciting. So tune in later, and you guys can find me here at On the Edge. That's it.
All right. And you guys can find me on YouTube and all social media platforms at Anonymous Based. If you actually want to tune into my live stream, I do one live stream a week due to me having to work 5 to 6 days a week and me being in the gym 5 to 6 days a week. If you actually want to tune in and catch my next live stream, it is going to be Saturday, this coming Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you want to chime in and join in on the live conversation, the link to join the panel will be pinned to the top of my chat. And again, if you want to join or check out the live stream that I'm doing on Saturday, it will be going live around 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the topic is going to be the fate of society, the rise of independent women. So if anybody wants to pull up and engage in the conversation, you're more than welcome to. Marte, Zinga, all of your supporters and followers, y'all can pull up as well. And y'all, and like I always tell people that pull up on my panels, y'all are always automatically invited to come back.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And thank you, everybody watching. We'll see you next time.
All
Take
right.
care. Christ is God.